I've been talking to myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on the thought.
Bit rusty there. Good evening and welcome to NUFC Matters, or also known as the 5-minute rant. But we haven't really got much to rant about these days, have we, Pete?
No, definitely not. I think any little bit of ranting was done for those last two games. But hey, 9 unbeaten, 9 points clear of the drop zone. What's to rant about?
Yeah, no, absolutely, mate. So my name's Chris Hall, and I'm joined by my good pal Pete. For anyone who's new to watching, hopefully we have loads of new watchers. And yeah, this is a show to the fans, and we're here to talk all things Newcastle United. And Pete, like I've just said, it's been a bit quiet, hasn't it, the past week or so? I mean, obviously the lads have been doing warm weather training in Dubai. But you know, what have you kind of taken from the last few days? Obviously, we've heard, Pete, that Kevin Trippier and Callum Wilson are maybe coming back a bit sooner than expected. Certainly, Kevin Trippier, anyway. But you know, I think I'm right in saying that the lads are home now. I mean, what are you expecting in preparation now for the Tottenham game, which I believe is on Sunday?
I'm expecting the boys to be worked hard this week. If anyone's seen the interviews from their warm weather training in Dubai, the lads have said, yes, they've had some downtime, but they've been worked really hard as well. And I expect that to even double potentially in the build up to this Tottenham game, because it's a big game. I think it sets a precedent of what the next 4 games will look like. And let's be honest, if we look at the next 4 games, they are all winnable games after this Spurs game. So it was give us an indication of what type of Newcastle United team and squad of players we're going to see. So it's a big week. But just from my perspective, I think it's been nice that it's been relatively quiet, because normally during these international breaks you get kind of a lot of negative stories and a lot of rubbish being talked about. I think the stuff with Chelsea has helped that, because that seems to be the priority in the news at the moment, not necessarily Newcastle, which isn't a bad thing at all. We've been talked about a lot in the near 6 months since the takeover. But yeah, it's been nice. It's been nice to kind of sit back with decent position, playing good football, winnable games ahead. It's not a bad situation for Newcastle United to be in, that's for sure.
No, I think. Do you know what? I think a lot of us were hating when obviously the Chelsea game, not so bad, because obviously we were coming up against a very, very good Chelsea side, and I thought we did really well. And obviously we were very unlucky to lose in the 88th minute from a great finish by Kai Havertz, but Dan Burn just switched off that little moment, and it was a shame really, because he's had a good performance up until then. But yeah, we can take the Chelsea one. Obviously, you go to Stamford Bridge, you don't expect to pick up 3 points, let's be honest, certainly as Newcastle fans. But then obviously we had the Everton game, and me and you, Pete, we were at Goodison Park, weren't we? And it was disappointing, because we came up, and I'm sure a lot of Everton fans will agree with this. We came up against a very poor Everton side. Sorry, I've got my wife there giving me that. Yeah. Yeah, it was very disappointing, because when all things considered, and looking at the match, there's no way we should have lost that game. A draw probably would have been a fair result on reflection, especially with the 10 men that Everton ended up having. But fair play, they got the 3 points, and much needed 3 points on their part. But it was weird, Pete, and I know we've probably already spoke about this, but I'm just going to touch on it again very briefly. I don't know about you. Obviously, there was a bit of a hangover the next day. I was feeling a bit gutted, but I remember at the full-time whistle, normally when you lose a game, you're devastated, and like, oh, you can't come to terms with it, especially when you deserve to win or at least get a draw. But for me, I didn't have that. I didn't have that anger or that real disappointment. And for me, it was because I was looking at the Everton fans, and how delighted they were, understandably. But I was just thinking, we're not going to have this problem in 2 or 3 years. This is not going to be. We're going to turn up at places like Goodison Park and probably turn them over and probably get the 3 points, and we'll be battling at the other end of the table rather than towards the bottom, which we are now. Albeit we've moved away from that crux, bottom 4, bottom 5. But it was a weird feeling. I can't remember ever feeling that way. Probably maybe the Pardew days, where we were high flying at one point, and if you don't get a win, you're obviously disappointed. But it just didn't feel as significant as how it did for the Everton fans. Whereas normally, if we're both kind of in and around mid-table, you'd probably want the points more, if that makes sense. But with the takeover and stuff, I'm kind of in a very relaxed mood. And even the days after it, I had my brother-in-law, giving me up the toffees and all that. And I was just like, it's fine. It's absolutely fine. Well done. Well done with your 3 points. Because I know, the brighter times are ahead of us. So I was just kind of in acceptance with it. And I was thinking the remaining games that we've got left, that's where we'll pick our points up. That's where we'll hit the 37, 38 plus mark. So it didn't really concern me. I mean, what were you like a full-time, Pete? I know you shot off because you wanted to try and beat the traffic. So we didn't get a chance really to speak post-match. But, were you feeling the same, or were you just absolutely fuming at the fact that we'd lost? I mean, what were your thoughts?
I've got to be honest, mate. I was distraught.
Yeah.
I'm never going to lie to you. I was absolutely distraught that we lost that game. I wanted, I've said it before and I say it again, I wanted that dagger in the heart. I wanted to end any hopes that they had of staying in the league with such a rough run of fixtures. And I was absolutely gutted that we didn't win that game, and even worse, that we lost it. But, you kind of, I get where you're coming from. You kind of like start to kind of think all of the things that you've said about, brighter times ahead. We're comfortable in the league. We're going to pick up points between now and the end of the season that will keep us in the league and all the rest of it. And I was kind of okay with it. And then yesterday, I started seeing some Everton videos pop up of their fans celebrating on the final whistle of the game again. And I'm just like, now I'm just pissed off all over again. It just wound me up an absolute treat.
But I've stirred it up now, haven't I? Yeah.
Yeah, I just, it wasn't even that. Like, I just desperately wanted to beat Everton. I want them relegated. I would love them to go down. Even more so now on the back of that, and I just needed to get out of Goodison Park as quickly as I possibly could. So I didn't want to wait around for anything. But yeah, look, it is what it is. From our perspective, I think we'll be fine. We just need to, really kind of kick back into gear again.
Right, I've just had an urgent message from our good friend John Justice Allen. So I'm gonna highlight that. And John has sent me a message to all the people watching at the moment. Okay, so John has sent me a message saying there is 2 tickets available for the ladies' game to give away tonight. So the Newcastle women for the first time are going to be playing at St James's Park, and tonight John is going to give away 2 tickets very, very kindly. So I need to ask the following question. I'm going to put it in the chat shortly, but I'll just read it out so everyone listening can hear what the question is. John has asked the question: who scored the first goal versus Bradford yesterday for the ladies? So the question again: who scored the first goal versus Bradford yesterday for the ladies? John has asked me to ask the question, and he will keep an eye out for the winner and let us know. So interesting question. And yeah, 2 tickets to see a bit of history being made. Newcastle ladies playing at St James's Park, so why not? So yeah, well, I'll pop that in the chat. But yeah, really well, I wouldn't mind them tickets, John, just letting you know. But yeah, they're up for grabs tonight in the chat. So yeah, get those answers in as quickly as you can. Oh, Andrew Bargate's come in with an answer already. I'm not sure you're on the right lines there, Andrew. I don't think it'll be Shola. Right, without any further ado, I'm going to get the first guest on, Pete. Okay?
Yeah, go for it.
So we're joined by a regular, friendly face. Welcome, Tony.
Hi, lads. You all right?
How you doing, mate? You okay?
Yeah, not too bad. I wasn't on last week because I had my darts match, and so yeah.
How'd you get on?
We lost 2-1 to the team who are we lost to the team that are top. I lost my singles 2-1 just. and I lost in the doubles 2-1 as well. So yeah, so
Oh,
we're third in Division 2 and they're top, but yeah, they've won it by a street anyway. So, but we didn't do too bad. We only lost 5-4 overall.
Oh, fair play.
So one of those games that I won mine, or we would have won that game, no problem. But we just haven't got enough points to go up this season. But hopefully next year.
Definitely.
But
Right. Talk to us. What do you want to talk about?
yeah, well, first of all, what I want to say is I want to go back to the Everton game. Not so much on the performance, but I know I don't really want to give this guy any airtime, but it's just a few points I want to raise about it and just want to see what you guys think. So first of all, this protester comes on the pitch, straps his neck to the goalpost.
Yeah.
So my thing is, now I've been to a lot of football grounds and I've seen a lot of security. And what I want to know is how, I mean, obviously before we got the match, he must have measured this cable tie because it was a double tie. So he'll have measured how to get it around his neck quick. And he must have already had it done. So I want to know how he got past the security onto the pitch to start with. Then he gets to the goalpost and manages to strap the thing round the goalpost and round his neck and strap it in without being challenged. Where the hell was the security for that? What were they doing? I mean, as a Premier League ground, that should be watertight. I mean, the night before, Liverpool played Arsenal away. Somebody tried to do it and they got stopped. Then after our game on the Sunday, the two people tried to do it at West Ham, handcuffed themselves to the posts, and they got stopped. So what is going on at Everton is, I mean, I know you're down there, Chris, up there, Chris, and your wife and you've got friends who are Blues fans. Mm-hmm. Is the security not that tight at Everton? Because technically, if it obviously isn't, but should the Premier League not be stepping in and asking the questions, why has that protester managed to get on the pitch and tie himself to the goalpost? And then they come out. Then the next thing is a fan comes out the ground and says, "Oh, by the way, there's a knife. Do you want to use that to cut it?" And the steward says, "Oh,
I'm laughing. It's not funny. It's just I'm laughing because it's borderline ridiculous. It sounds like a bad comedy, doesn't it?
Oh, that's no good, and handed it back though.
Yeah. No, I know.
And whether this knife was legal, because I know some people said it's illegal. It's probably legal. It's probably a work knife. Irrespective of that, doesn't matter. You should not be carrying a knife of any sort into any football ground whatsoever.
Nope.
I mean, I remember about 10 years ago, I travelled to Dover to go to Calais, and I remember just going for something in my compartment. I thought, oh, I've got my work knife in there, and I felt really guilty about that and hoping I wasn't going to get searched. But yeah, I mean, how he even got into a ground with a knife, I mean, I know you don't really get searched, but for the steward to hand that back, absolutely crazy.
Yeah. Do you know what, Tony? It's a fantastic point, and I think this was something Steve and Mitch were talking about in the Three Amigos from memory. This day and age, it's actually quite frightening, isn't it? I know I was laughing before, but it's quite frightening that kind of thing can happen. So touching first on the knife, the fact that a fan can just walk in with one. I mean, really, I know anybody could probably do that because you could probably hide it in so many different parts of your body. Yeah. It's probably not that difficult to do. But the fact that then the steward has gone, when the fan suggested it, the steward's took it and then gone, oh, yeah, here's your knife back. It's bizarre, isn't it? And I think it kind of shows, how society is going, really, because I don't necessarily think that would have happened many years ago. But scarily, a lot of people do carry knives. Obviously, I don't condone that whatsoever. No. Some people will, have it on their possession with regards to work and things like that, which I completely understand. But really, nobody should be doing that, and especially not to a football match. But yeah, in terms of the fan getting on the pitch as well, Tony, it was quite a shock, and it baffles me how he managed to get on the pitch and then managed to put the tie around his neck and nobody approached him. So yeah, that is worrying. I mean, do you know what I will say? And I don't want to sound like I'm defending Everton in any way. That really wouldn't surprise me if that happened at a lot of clubs. I'm I'm sure there's probably clubs out there whose security is very, very good, but that's not to say that Everton's is particularly bad. I think it's just that as a whole, I think it's, increasing security or making security better. It could probably be done across a lot of teams, not just Everton.
Yeah.
We do see things happen, when players manage, sorry, not players, fans manage to get on the pitch. It's probably something that they need to really do a review of and see if they can improve as a whole, not just Everton. But I mean, Pete, what were your thoughts at the ground? I mean, I know my view. I knew there was a disruption, but it was at the other end of the pitch, and as I'm sure it was for you. But you were in the upper Bullens, I was in the lower, and all I remember seeing is just these big, massive cutters going past. So I assumed that he'd handcuffed himself and that they were to cut metal. I hadn't realised that it was to cut plastic.
Just one quick thing. So
Yeah,
when that guy had them ball cutters and they were keep trying with it, and did you see the teeth on that guy? Surely his teeth would have cut that rather than them ball cutters.
Hey, yeah, he was really putting an effort into it, wasn't he?
Wasn't he just? Yeah.
Yeah, he was going for it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, you're right. You're right, Tony.
Sorry, I couldn't resist that one.
He's got a lot of popularity on the back of that since certainly on social media. But I actually saw it quite early on, and I had to kind of take a double take. And there was just a guy next to me, and I said, "Oh, have you seen that?" And this is before the game was kind of still going at that point. The ref hadn't noticed or even stopped the game. And he was just kind of like, it just looked like he'd stood next to the post. Like, I don't know if any of you seen a video on Twitter that was going around a few weeks before, or even longer than that, where you got a West Ham fan that jumps over the borders, and he's standing about 10 foot from the goal, as if he's like a parent just watching the game. And then the steward just kind of walks up to him and ushers him away. It felt a little bit like that. Obviously, we're quite far away and we couldn't see at that point what had actually happened. We just looked like he just wandered onto the pitch and was just kind of stood next to the goal. It was only until after that, and we saw the Bobcas get kind of ran onto the pitch, that we thought it was something more. I thought initially that he'd handcuffed himself to the post. And I thought, there were police officers going over. I thought they were looking for a key in order to unpick the lock, and various other things. And then to find out afterward that it was something to do with his neck is crazy. But the one thing I'll say, and I don't blame Everton for this, stewards or not, because if you look at a lot of grounds in this country, across Europe, you've got some people that can run onto the pitch and make it to the centre circle, or even the opposite end of the pitch before a steward even gets anywhere near them. So, in order for him to get over the borders, the sponsors, and tie himself up, it wouldn't actually take that long to do. Now, if you've seen, and you alluded to it as well, Tony, that there's been a few that have tried it since. Now, there was one that got quite close. I'm not sure if it was Wolves, where they managed to stop the person really quickly. And if you look from the video, how quickly he jumps over the side, gets to the post, and he's literally trying to do it instantly. And it can be as quick as that. Now, because it wasn't a known thing then, he would have had more time to be able to do that. So he probably did it just as quick, and nobody would have noticed because everyone's watching the ball, everyone's watching the players. He just wanders onto the pitch, just does it relatively quickly, and it's done. And not even the stewards would recognise it. So I don't put that at Everton's feet at all. But I think what it should be is a wake-up call for all stewards and all security at football to be tighter. It needs to be tighter because, yes, he tied his neck to the post. But if that was someone that wanted to do some serious damage to a professional footballer on the pitch, they could do that. And the player would have no idea what's going on because they'd be coming from behind if it was the goalkeeper, for example. And two, who's to say what they're carrying? We already know that Everton fan gave the steward a knife and then got given it back. So who's to say what they're carrying in there? And I've got to be honest, the one thing I will go on to Everton about is that their checks were poor. their stewards outside the ground, their checks into the ground were not good. So I'm not surprised that we got that noise about a fan, an Everton fan, having a knife and all the rest of it. That doesn't surprise me, because the checks and the quality of stewardship on that night outside the ground was awful. It was really, really bad. It was the worst I've seen. And, I've been to championship games with Newcastle, up and down the country. And I've been to a lot of Premier League games with Newcastle up and down the country over a number of years. That was the worst.
Yeah. Thing is, really, though, there should have been a wake-up call before even this started, because if you go back to the FA Cup fourth round tie with Forest and Leicester, when that Leicester fan got on and assaulted the players, that's where security should have been beefed up from then.
Yeah.
Because what if he was carrying a knife in his pocket?
Exactly.
You just don't know what people are carrying.
Yeah.
And, I just wanted to just bring that point up,
No, it's a very valid point, Tony, and you're absolutely right. And we don't want it to get to the point where someone's, done some serious harm and then they take action. Really, the action should be taken now, because, like you say, there was definitely an opportunity for that fan to be able to do far worse than what he did, which ultimately was strap himself to a post. But it could have been far worse.
It could have been, yeah. Obviously, we're on a break now, aren't we, from the Premier League, but we've got Spurs on Sunday. But yeah, I still can see Everton struggling anyway, and probably hopefully go down, because they've got to play West Ham away on Sunday. Is it Saturday or Sunday? And then
it's West Ham away.
Then they've got Burnley away on the Wednesday.
That's it.
And
we were talking about our game being a 6 pointer, Tony.
I didn't realise it was that close.
Yeah.
Is it next Wednesday?
Yeah, that's a rearranged game.
Week on Wednesday. Yeah.
What a big week for Everton!
Huge.
And it's at Burnley.
That's at Burnley.
Yeah.
And remember,
Burnley win that beat.
I might have to tune in for that one. No, I didn't realise it was that close.
I have to do a watch along, Pete.
But yeah, so I'd like to talk a bit about the transfer window. Obviously, I can see us being safe anyway, because we've got the games to make us safe. We can find another couple of wins out of there somewhere along the line. We got Palace to play, we got Norwich to play. So there's plenty there. There's Wolves to play, because they've been a bit dodgy at the moment.
Yeah.
But transfer window wise, I see there's a couple of strikers we've been linked to, like Darwin Núñez, who I would love to see come to town, because I think he's an excellent striker. And Victor Osimhen.
Osimhen, yeah, from Napoli.
And he used to play for Lille, if I remember.
Yeah, I think he did. He did. He was in the French league. Yeah, I'm sure he was.
Because I saw him in a few Champions League games, and he looked good then for Lille.
He did.
So he's not. Tell you what, 100 million euros, not a bad shout, that is it?
No, not at all. Not at all. I think. I think it's an investment, isn't it, Tony? Because he's very young as well. He's got a lot of years ahead of him. So
he's only 24, and Núñez is 22.
Yeah.
So really, technically, they've got a lot of years in them there. And defence-wise, I still think we'll go for Botman. I still think. I read reports that apparently we've agreed personal terms with him. How true that is, I do not know.
Yeah, but it wouldn't surprise me. I wouldn't surprise me if we'd agreed terms with him in January as well, in the hope that we could have agreed the deal with Lille, and obviously that didn't happen. So I think we saw from his statement, didn't we? I think when he released his statement saying, I was interested in Newcastle projects, and I'm also interested in AC Milan. AC Milan kind of felt like a bit of a second option to me. I think if we go back in for him for the summer, I think we get him. As long as we agree that fee with Lille, I think he'll join us over AC Milan. And plus, Tony, I think, have Lille got a good relationship with AC Milan, and they were hoping to sell him to AC Milan, but ultimately, if we agree the same fee, I think he chooses us.
But then weren't AC Milan due to saying that Renato Sanchez in January, but that fell through for some reason, didn't it? I can't remember if it was over the fee or what, or was it, so that sort of fell through. But no, we definitely need some players in for sure. And what about Paqueta from Lyon?
Yeah.
Bruno's mate.
Yeah, that wouldn't be bad, would it? That wouldn't be bad
Wouldn't
at
be
all.
bad at all, that one, no.
No, no.
But and obviously we're still needing that goalkeeper to challenge with Dubravka, because I think, to be fair, Darlow doesn't want to be here, does he? Really, you can see that. And obviously Woodman, he's gone on loan, but he's not really playing, is he? He's sitting on the bench now for Bournemouth. Just seems
Yeah,
this
this is
loan.
it, isn't it? Yeah, I think I think in the summer we do see some changes in the goalkeeping department. I think we'll bring in someone to challenge Martin Dubravka for the number one,
Yeah,
and I think Carl Darlow will probably go,
yeah,
and I think Freddie Woodman could go on a permanent deal rather than another loan, because really, unless we can give him guarantees that he's going to be at least fighting for the number one, which I don't think we will,
no,
unless of course we end up getting rid of Dubravka and Woodman comes in who will challenge the new number one. Who knows? But you can tell that Eddie Howe's not wholly convinced on Dubravka. I just get that impression. And I think Eddie Howe probably wants his goalie to be a bit more comfortable on the ball. And sadly, Dubravka isn't very comfortable on the ball when he's got it at his feet.
I mean, who would you want as a keeper? I mean, I know we're linked with Dean Henderson. Apparently, we've been linked to Oblak as well from Atletico. Because
I mean,
obviously he's
Oblak,
good
mate.
friends with Trippier. I
Yeah,
tell
I
you
mean,
what, have him in a
Oblak would be,
heartbeat,
Oblak would be something else.
wouldn't he? Just
I feel like that's probably 2 or 3 seasons too soon to attract someone of his ability. I
yeah,
mean,
exactly.
if you ask most people who the
Oh
best
God,
goalie in
yeah,
the world is, his name gets mentioned.
yeah.
So he
He's a
might be
hell of a
too soon
keeper.
for us. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I
he
think
is.
Dean Henderson's probably doable.
Yeah,
Whether or not Man United would sell to us, I don't know.
that's the other thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think it wouldn't surprise me if we've got this really good scouting network, and there'll be
Yeah,
loads of players on the list. It wouldn't surprise me if we went for a player from abroad and we just
yeah,
brought them in. It really wouldn't surprise me. So like like an Oblak, but maybe not as high profile.
yeah.
Um, someone from like a French club or a German club or Italian club,
What
someone
about
who's on the
Navas?
fringe or is due a step up. It wouldn't surprise me if we went for someone, from a
Yeah.
foreign league.
Or what about Navas? He's sitting on the bench at the minute for PSG, isn't he?
Yeah. Keylor Navas. I've never been that keen on him, to be honest. But I
No.
mean, don't get me wrong, he's a massive upgrade on what we've got.
Yeah.
But yeah, he could be. He could be an interesting one. And do you know what? Dan Smirnoff's just made a fantastic point, saying, "Did Dubravka get injured during the internationals?" I heard the same. Dan, I've got to be honest, I haven't really been on Twitter that much over the last few days.
Well, I heard
But
last night he had a heart problem,
oh really?
but then somebody said it's illness, so we don't know what's going on. Somebody said he had angina,
Yeah,
but then somebody says, "Oh, it's an illness now," so I don't know.
yeah. I mean, who knows? Who knows? But Pete, have you heard? Welcome back, by the way. I was just going to throw a question straight at you then.
I apologise. I've had a mare.
No, don't worry, mate. Don't
Internet
worry.
in the house had just gone down. Everything was gone.
Oh.
So I've had to wait for it to start back up. So my bad. But yeah, what did I miss?
No, we were just talking goalies, Pete, and yeah, I was conscious. I just invited you back in and then just threw a question at you. But yeah, we were talking goalies, and we were saying, we think that Dubravka could end up getting replaced next season. And Tony was saying to me, who would you go for? And I was saying, well, we've been linked to Henderson and Oblak. Tony mentions Oblak, and I said I feel like it's a bit too soon for Oblak because he is literally like levels. And I think maybe 2 or 3 seasons we might be going for the likes of him. But maybe for me, I think we're going to end up going for someone abroad. Maybe I couldn't name you a keeper because there's that many, and we've not really been linked with anyone. But I personally can see us going for like a foreign keeper who's a decent or a good Italian side, German side, Spanish side, someone like that where we make they're due a step up, and they're a very good keeper. That's how I see it, because I don't think it'll be very easy. I don't think it'll be very easy to get the likes of Oblak or even Dean Henderson, because I think Man United just might think we're not selling him to you. But what are your thoughts, Pete?
Well, Man United have already tried to do that, because as much as can be believed. We tried to get Dean Henderson on loan in January, and it was Man United that were playing hardball. And there's only so long you can play hardball with Dean Henderson, because he came back when Sheffield United wanted him again. And they said no, because we're going to give him a chance to be number one. He had an opportunity. Then when he made one mistake, he was out, and he hasn't really been back since. So at that point, he was on the verge of playing for England as a number one. He was about to be given an opportunity. So he must be kicking himself that he stayed at Man United now, because they're not using him at all. And I believe in the summer that Dean Henderson will leave. Now, if you're asking me who I go for, he's the one keeper at the moment, and he's English as well, which makes it even better. That he'd be the keeper that I would go for if I'm being honest, totally honest. He's a very, very, very good goalkeeper. And I think he's got levels. I think he can get even better. I think he's 25 years old. A goalkeeper can play at the highest level until, you're looking at 35 at
Late
least.
30s.
Sometimes 36, 37. So you've probably got another 10 years left of Dean Henderson at the top level. And if he can regather the type of form he brought under Sheffield United in their first season, they nearly got European football off the back of that. Yeah. And it was because of his goalkeeping ability. They kept so many clean sheets. He's a perfect goalkeeper. Look, we're not going to. It won't be cheap. We'll be paying the best part of 25 million at least for him. But you've got a top quality goalkeeper there. There's other goalkeepers. I like Lafont. I think he plays for Nantes in France.
Yeah, I like him.
Goalkeeper. I really like him. I think he's a little bit younger than Henderson. Very, very good goalkeeper. Very highly rated in France. I think he'd be good.
Where was he before Nantes, Pete? Because didn't he move to Nantes? I thought he was at a different French club.
Yeah, and I'm not. I don't.
I'm just remembering this off FIFA. Right. That's why I'm saying it, because he wasn't at Nantes.
I think you're right. He was at somewhere else, but he's been talked about a lot recently.
Yeah.
And then I think someone else mentioned it before. But he's actually a really good goalkeeper, and actually at times kept De Gea out of the number one in the Spanish team, and it's Unai Simon. I think he plays for Bilbao.
Bilbao.
If we're going to go for a good continental goalkeeper, he's the type of goalkeeper you want to go for, because they're not always playing European football. They're on the peripheries of European football and not. So it's not like they're playing regularly in Europe, and therefore, he's kind of demanding to play European football. He's kind of the goalkeeper that has got levels to his game that you could bring in as part of a project and really make him even better than what he is. And he's a Spanish international goalkeeper who's played as number one on a few occasions. So you've got players like that. But for me, Dean Henderson is a no-brainer to get in first. But look, I don't think it'll be a case of bringing in a goalkeeper, Dubravka out. I think it'll be a case of, just like with Dan Burn and Lascelles, it's just like with Willock and Joe Linton and Shelvey with Gameres. It's a case of, we're bringing in another quality player that plays in your position. Show us that, one, Dubravka, you can be fit to play every week. And when you're in the sticks, show us that you deserve to stay there. They give the same opportunity to Jamal Lascelles, and unfortunately for Jamal Lascelles, he was ill, which brought Dan Burn in. It wasn't a case of he was rubbish and then chucked out the team. He, because at that point he put together 2 or 3 decent games. He was told, it's your spot to lose. He was ill. Dan Burn came in, and rightly so, hasn't then come back out of the team since. Joe Willock was given the same grace, as well as John Joe Shelvey. Now, this is where it's interesting, because John Joe Shelvey's been out the team. Bruno Gameres has come in, and now what you're going to do now? It's going to be an interesting thing come Sunday afternoon, because who do you choose? But I think it's going to be really interesting. I think it's time we had proper competition for our number one spot.
Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more, mate. Tony, we're gonna have to wrap up shortly, mate. But did you have any other points you wanted to go over? Or?
No, I was just going to say there. That's exactly what we need. We need competition. I mean, you look at Man City; they've got 2 teams, or maybe 3 teams You know, they can put Grealish on the bench one week and Foden on the bench one week, but they can bring players in equally as good.
Yeah.
If
Tomorrow's
not better.
early.
So, you know, so it's absolutely, that's what we need to be doing. Having enough so we can say, right, okay, we've got two teams here and we know they're all competing to get in that starting 11. And that's what you want. You want competition. You want to give Eddie Howe that headache.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
he's got, you know, because he has got a headache now because he's got to think on Sunday, who do I put in? Do I stick or do I bring Shelvey back? But who do I drop to put Shelvey back in? It's a conundrum, isn't it? But it's a nice one to have.
Definitely.
You know? But going to Sunday's game, now, depending on what Spurs team turns up, because you never know what team turns up. I don't even think Spurs know themselves what team will turn up. If they don't click, I fancy a 1-1 draw. The last time we won there with fans was when Joe Linton scored.
Yeah, it was a nice finish actually, wasn't it? Yeah, with his left foot. Yeah, nice finish.
1-0. But
Yeah.
I would love to take 1-0 on Sunday, but I'm going to go for a 1-1 draw, and I'm going to say Bruno will score again.
Why not?
And then Kane will probably score against us as usual because he always seems to score against us.
Yeah,
I know some people have banged the drum saying, well, why don't we bring Kane in? But he's 27, 28 at 150 million. It's a lot of money for a player that age.
Do you know what? Not at that price, mate. Not for me. Not for me.
Not being funny, if this Victor Osimhen that we're mentioning and also Darwin Núñez, you could get them two for just over 150 million, and you've got two there, and they're both, one's 24, one's 22.
I'm not going to be one of those fans who's like, I don't want Kane.
No.
You know, if we signed Harry Kane, I'd be delighted. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But if you gave me a choice of signing, you know, a Darwin Núñez or a Victor Osimhen, and then improve other areas of the squad, I'd prefer that over putting 150, like you say, Tony, 150 million against Harry Kane. I mean, I've had concerns over Harry Kane over the last 12 to 18 months. I worry that he's lost a yard of pace. I worry that he's coming so deep. He's not staying in that number 9 position as much. I know he's not. Well, I'm saying I know. I don't know for fact, but I get the impression he's not happy at Tottenham. People say, you know, he's the ultimate professional, and I wouldn't doubt that. You know, he's still doing a job for Tottenham, but his head was definitely turned by Man City. And then I do believe that, you know, that deal was going to happen. And then I think maybe Man City have gone, hang on, you know, put the brakes on. We've got Erling Haaland there, who's going to have a release clause this summer. Do we keep our powder dry and wait for Erling Haaland? Because if you give me a choice now between Erling Haaland and Harry Kane, I pick Erling Haaland every day of the week, purely for the fact of what he could be, where he could go. And I do believe that Haaland will end up at Man City, especially given his connections of his dad, especially for that reason. Yeah,
because his dad played for City and Forest, didn't he? So But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say no to having Harry Kane, but the other thing is Daniel Levy wouldn't sell to us anyway.
Probably not. Or he'd want an extra 30, 40 million.
He hates us anyway, doesn't he? So
yeah.
We're paying 200 million if we get.
He was the one against our takeover, and then said to the PIF, "Come and buy Tottenham instead." You know, that just shows you the matter of that guy. I can't stand him.
You won't be getting 3 billion for that club, I tell you.
No, they're in debt, aren't they? Huge debt, aren't they?
Yeah.
Because they've got to pay for that stadium, haven't they?
Yeah. This is it. This is it. Well, anyway, Tony, thank you very much for coming on, mate. Always much appreciated. Always nice to spend time with you. And look forward to seeing you next week. And we'll be talking all things Tottenham. Yeah.
Hopefully, I'll take a pint now, and I'm having a Peroni.
Oh, good man. Yeah. Good man. Yeah, I'm like you. I'd take a pint as well.
Yeah, one quick thing. Nice one, North Macedonia, by the way.
Oh, I know. What a result that was.
Brilliant. What a hell of a result that was. I wonder if
I wish had the bet on that
night.
Yeah,
because nobody expected that, did they? I didn't expect that, to be honest. When I saw that score come through, I thought 92nd minute, North Macedonia have won it, and I thought, what?
Mental to knock them out.
Wow. I would love to see them beat Portugal now just to get the World Cup. That would be a fairy tale, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
But who knows?
Absolutely. Who knows? Who knows indeed. But yeah,
Exactly.
thank you very much, Tony, as always,
No
mate.
worries,
All the
lads.
very best, and look forward
Yeah.
to catching up with you next week, mate.
See you
Good
later,
luck with your
lads.
darts.
Take care.
See you later, mate.
Thank you. Bye.
Good to have Tony on.
Yeah, definitely.
Always covers loads of different topics. So we were, yeah, while you were out, Pete, we were mainly talking about goalkeepers, because it's weird, isn't it? Well, I don't know about you, but I always think it's funny talking about goalkeepers because when the takeover was announced, that was like one of the last positions I was even thinking of. Like it didn't even, when they said, "Oh, we need to improve this and this and this and this," I didn't say goalie. I was thinking, yeah, do you know what? Dubravka's fine, absolutely fine with Dubravka. You've got Freddie Woodman there potentially who could come back in, another season under his belt. Cardalo's all right. He probably does need upgrading, but he's certainly not one of the players that I look at immediately and think, oh God, we need a better number two. I don't necessarily think that. It was all different positions around the pitch. But now, as fans, we seem to be talking about the goalkeeper position even more than the midfield, which I would never thought that we'd do.
It's the accumulation of injuries over the last couple of years. Dubravka's had two really big injuries that have kept him out for a significant period of time. Now, any successful football team has their goalkeeper there 98% of the time. Yeah, they'll always have the odd injury that they may miss 2 or 3 games in a season, but to miss huge chunks of a season, is effectively missed the whole season overall with the last 2 injuries, because both of those injuries have kept him out for pretty much the first half of the season. So it's a long time. And you can't keep, and at 33, 34 years old, you cannot keep relying on a goalkeeper that could have another injury like that. So at some point, you have to then look ahead and look, this is Eddie Howe's team. He's inherited Dubravka, and I'm sure he's not sad about that, but he's going to want to put his own stamp on it. With the way he plays football, with the way he wants to play football, he's going to want a ball-playing goalkeeper. He's going to want a goalkeeper that's confident on the ball. Dubravka's got better. Darlow's not good enough on the ball. You could argue he's probably not good enough in the sticks either. But with Dubravka, Dubravka would end up being a good backup, and I think Dubravka would want to stay at Newcastle and be number 2 and push the number 1 goalkeeper, because he's at that age now where he's kicking on. I think he'd be happy to play that role. So I don't see it as a problem. I think it's part of that building. It's important to have that spine of a team. But yeah, I think it's interesting. I'm looking at some of these questions that are coming up on our chat tonight. There are some top questions.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to going through them, Pete. I am looking forward to them.
There are some really good ones coming out. But I just in fact, you know what? I'll wait, because I wanted to come back. I wanted to come back to the Harry Kane.
Oh yeah, but we will. Yeah, remind me, Pete, and we will when we go into our little Q&A. We will come back to Harry Kane. That can be the first one we talk about. And funnily enough, I wouldn't mind. In fact, you know what? I'll just say it now while we're talking about goalies. So Barry Cope's put here, and I'm going to talk about this very briefly before we bring our next guest on. Barry Cope has mentioned there about Leno from Arsenal. Now, Pete, I don't know about you, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on this, but I've kind of shuddered the last few weeks when we've been linked with the likes of Bernd Leno and Kepa from Chelsea, and I've just thought, no. I mean, that's my personal opinion. Like I've not seen. I thought at the time that Leno was very overrated, if I'm honest, Barry. You could argue he's an upgrade on Dubravka. You could argue, but certainly Kepa as well. I know Chelsea forked out a lot of money for him, and he's never.
Transfer fee.
Yeah. It was like 72 million or something like that. And it's that. Well, that was one of Frank Lampard's signings, and I know Frank Lampard gets a lot of stick for all the money he spent. So that's probably money badly spent. But yeah, I don't look at the likes of Kepa or Leno and think, oh, they're the way forwards. I mean, am I being a bit harsh there, Pete, or am I kind of being a bit of a snob? But for me, I would rather look at other keepers, or like a Dean Henderson. Even if we've been linked with the likes of Nick Pope, I wouldn't mind Nick Pope at all. But I'd take Nick Pope over Leno and Kepa personally. But I know we've already talked about different ones. But what are your thoughts specifically, Pete, on Kepa and Leno, for example?
No, I don't think you're turning your nose up in the wrong way. I don't think you're being snobby in any way, shape, or form. Neither of those goalkeepers, in my opinion, are better than Martin Dubravka. They may have had better moments earlier on in their careers, but neither of them at this moment in time, or I would say in the last 2 or 3 years, are playing better than Martin Dubravka. I wouldn't even have Sommer. I don't rate Sommer.
Would you not have Sommer?
No, I don't rate him. And I'll be honest with you, I wouldn't take Nick Pope either. I just
No.
wouldn't. The big thing for me, when we're looking ahead, I don't want a goalkeeper to come and sidestep in and join Newcastle United. If we sign Nick Pope is no better than Martin Dubravka. I would say out of all of those goalkeepers we were just mentioning, Kepa, Leno, Nick Pope is probably better than both of them.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Nick Pope's not levels above, but he's probably better than Leno and Kepa.
Yeah.
But you're right, it's not a big upgrade.
And this is the thing. With every player that we bring in now, with every player that we're looking at, we've got to look, okay, are they better? Are they better than what we've already got? Bruno Guimaraes, better than what we've got. Dan Burn, better than what we've got. Kieran Trippier, better than what we've got. Matty Target, or as Alan in the chat says, Taggart, better than what we've got. The only one you could probably question mark is Chris Wood, but he does elements of his game better, but he's probably not better overall. He was probably more of the panic buy. We needed a striker. I don't think we would have signed Chris Wood. If we'd have had Callum Wilson, I think we'd have maybe splashed out a little bit more and signed somebody else personally. But that's what we need to be looking at now. Is Dean Henderson better than Martin Dubravka? In my opinion, yes. Tom's put, Tom Dixon's put, I'd like to, let me put it in there.
Sorry, Pete, I've just threw it on as well. Sorry, mate.
I'll do it again. Love it. Tom Dixon said, I'd like to get Jon Oblak. He's one of the best in the world, of course. I would take him all day long, but we're not playing European football. That boy is not dropping out of European football to play for Newcastle United, not yet. We would need to be playing any form of European football. I mean, I'm talking even Europa Conference. If we got Europa Conference, if we're guaranteed to play European football, we are going to attract much better players to the club, because then they'll be moving, not just because we're playing European football, because of the project and the fact they can see progression from the club. But we need to be signing players that are coming in that are better than what we have. And that is the key. Ter Stegen, Dunno just put in Ter Stegen, good shout, fantastic keeper. If Barcelona are looking to move him on, we were linked heavily with him in January. In the early parts, it kind of disappeared, but we were linked with him. With Barcelona's financial situation, could he come to us? Maybe a similar situation with Oblak. Is he going to want to drop out of European football to come play for Newcastle? Probably not yet. So we need to look at that goalkeeper just underneath your Ter Stegens and Oblaks. And for me, Dean Henderson is that guy. I'm not saying he's the only option. Unai Simon is there as well. Lafont is probably a little bit further down than them, but he's a little bit younger. He's got even more potential than probably both of those goalkeepers. I don't know. Am I wrong in that mentality, Chris? I don't know.
No. Pete, like I say, when you were gone, mate, we were. Well, I was kind of saying the same thing about Oblak. Like, I'd love Oblak. Don't get me wrong. I mean, the only saving grace, and I think Trulls mentioned it actually. Trulls said to me earlier on, which is a fair point. He said, "Chris, you could be surprised by the summer transfer window," and absolutely, I could be. The only way I think we sign the likes of an Oblak or a Ter Stegen is if we go big in the summer. And when I say go big, I mean we sign like a top striker, a top winger, a top midfielder, a top centre back, where everybody. Oh no, Andrew, come on,
what
Andrew.
What is going on, man?
Hey,
Andrew? What's going on?
I think he is taking the mick with all the dinosaur pictures. We'll let him off with that.
I wouldn't sign Pickford if Darlow was on number one. I wouldn't sign Pickford if Gillespie was on number one. I'd rather go without than have Jordan Pickford.
I agree. But no, we were saying before, Pete, yeah, that we felt that um we felt that maybe it might be a step too much. But you know, depending how big we go in the summer, depending who we attract in the summer, that could change things, because as soon as you sign 3 or 4 marquee signings and everyone goes, Jesus, look what they're doing, you don't know. I mean, it's unlikely, Pete. I agree with you, very unlikely. But look at Notts County all those years ago. Where they signed Sol Campbell, and then everyone was like, "Oh, I'll join Notts County. I don't mind playing in League Two."
Yeah, I think
And
Michael there as well.
yeah, the money does talk, and people do get excited. And let's be honest, Pete. If you're, which again works to our advantage, if you're a keeper in La Liga and a Premier League club comes calling, not just any Premier League club, the richest Premier League club in the country, the richest Premier League, well, the richest club in the world, come calling, and there's a project, and they've already signed X, Y, Z, are you then looking at it and thinking, I mean, what, without sounding bad, what else is Oblak going to win at Atletico Madrid? Is he going to win the Champions League? Probably not. Is he going to win La Liga again? Maybe, but he's already won La Liga. So it's like, well, is he going to think, "Do you know what, I wouldn't mind trying my hand at the Premier League. Me good mate Kieran Trippier is playing at right back. He could be giving a glowing report. Hey, Pete, I'm all in on Oblak now,
No,
mate.
no,
I'm talking myself into it.
no, and I think, you know what? I think it's not a bad shout at all. I think your points are more than valid. More than valid. You look at Oblak's career; he's had a fantastic career, some great moments. But let's be honest, Atletico Madrid have already peaked
Yeah,
under
they have. They have.
under Diego Simeone. I don't think they're going to get any better. I think the only way is down for them. And I think at some point Simeone is going to want to go and play his trade elsewhere as a manager, and then that squad of players gets disbanded. Who's to say that doesn't happen in this summer with all the manager merry-go-rounds? Who's to say that someone doesn't come calling for Diego Simeone? So it's going to be an interesting one. And I think you've made a really valid point that at some point, when a Premier League club with the money that we have available to us comes calling, there's an opportunity there that players might not turn down. You look at the players that went to PSG, Cavani, Ibrahimovic, Thiago Silva. They started that project. You look at what happened at Man City. They got young players in, Kompany, the likes of Milner at a younger age, Gareth Barry at a bit of a younger age. But they also signed top European young players as well, like Aguero, Dzeko, players like that at the top of their game, and made them what they are. David Silva, for example.
It just took, didn't it? A few signings, and everyone started going, "Oh, this looks good." And then they were bringing in, like you say, the likes of Yaya Toure. They brought in Adebayor, Tevez. They were all coming, weren't they?
Mel Clichy, Samuel Nasri. It was a lot of the English players the English-based players that they plucked away, particularly Arsenal, took their players away from them. Can we do that to, say, a Palace? Can we get a Tyreek Mitchell, for example? Can we take a Conor Gallagher from under the noses of Palace and take him away from Chelsea? Can we do that to teams in and around us? Can we do that? If we can do that and then build our team and make them better to get us into those challenging for European spots, because we stay in the league and we invest in the summer. There is no reason why we can't be with a real good start to the season, looking at least the Europa Conference. That should be a target. I'm not saying we're going to guarantee getting there, but it should be a target.
Yeah, that should be
Keylor Navas, another one from Mazir. Keylor Navas playing second fiddle to Donnarumma. You question mark his age, but as a goalkeeper, he's terrific. Are we going to look for a long-term goalkeeper? We can have a conversation on this all day.
Yeah, we can really do just a show on this, couldn't we?
Yeah, it's a great point. It's a great point. Oh,
that is just. We were talking about this mid-show. Sorry, Alan, pre-show, and what I read was that he was linked with Arsenal, and if Arsenal want to go and spend 60 million on him, I know a lot of Everton fans would be quite happy with that.
If anyone's watched the Fans Forum / Loaded HQ, you will know my opinions on Dominic Calvert-Lewin. I do not rate him at all.
I'm exactly the same.
I don't rate him at all.
Exactly the same.
For me, I think Callum Wilson's a better player. For me, I wouldn't be paying any more than what we paid for Callum Wilson, which is 20 million. I know that would sound crazy to Everton fans because they seem to value him at like 80 million. He's not an 80 million pound player. He's lucky enough to be playing for England when he does. I don't rate him at all. If he goes to Arsenal and we end up getting Darwin Núñez, happy days, because we've won that battle there 110%. So yeah, go to Arsenal, go and have fun. We don't want him up here. No chance. Not for me anyway.
No, I agree, mate. I completely agree. Right, on that note, Pete, I'm going to bring in our second guest. Well, our second and final guest by the looks of it. So, big welcome to Darren. How you doing, Darren?
Hello, boys. You all right?
Good, mate. Yourself?
Not too bad. It's an interesting program. I've been over the weekend, I've been thinking about players I would sell. Because we've got so much dead wood.
It's an interesting one. Yeah.
And I've made a little list.
Oh,
I've got Martin de Bradler.
To go?
Yes.
Ooh, Darren's ruthless.
I just think I don't know, I think he's been at the club too long. And he's time
That being the case, Darren, and it's a it's not a bizarre comment that you've made. But that being the case, which of our other goalies, so Woodman, Darlow, and Gillespie, I'm assuming you wouldn't get rid of all 4 goalies. So which goalies would you be keeping? And I'm not saying keeping to be number 1. But who would you be keeping?
Again, when you've watched Darlow, he hasn't done good. And that Woodman, when he played last year, he was a bit dodgy as well. So I'll keep Woodman if I must. I just think our backup keepers are not that good. And I think we need a massive, from the outlet to the end, rebuild. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And the keeper, my personal opinion, I like Dean Henderson. He's English, and I think you give him regular football what he wants I think he'll do us good.
Yeah. I know Pete's a big fan of Dean Henderson.
You know what, Darren? I think you're absolutely right. I honestly believe that Dean Henderson playing at Newcastle United at number 1, right, with a good season, with a good start to the season under his belt, he goes to the World Cup, but not just goes to the World Cup. I think he pushes Jordan Pickford for number 1. I think Jordan Pickford may start at the World Cup as number 1, just because Gareth Southgate loves that continuity of players that he's managed for a long period of time. He's that type of manager. But I think he goes to the World Cup pushing Jordan Pickford. Any injury, any doubt, Henderson comes in. But after the World Cup, I think Henderson then becomes number 1.
Yeah, so for the Euros.
Yeah, he stays as number 1. And I think he just needs to have that team in the Premier League that he is number 1. He's the main man. He plays every week. And I think you made a really good point there. I think we get him in.
Yeah, we defence. I'll get Craig Carlisle, Dummett, Lascelles, Fernandez, and Lewis. I think I'll get rid of all them straight away.
It's good. Do you know what though, Darren? And again, I'm not arguing with you. Like those players, I think maybe bar Jamal Lewis, I might give Jamal Lewis another season. But the other ones, no, you're quite right to say that. But yeah,
And
what are we up to? Are we up to
Mankio too.
So we're up to 7 players already, and we've not even got the midfield or striker.
Yeah, and now realistic and
Just
stuff
a list.
happening.
I know what you're saying.
I'm just saying, like, there's too much deadwood. They've been there too long.
Yeah, in 3 or 4 years' time, those players probably won't be at the club. I agree.
Yeah.
Maybe bar Mankio, perhaps, because he is a good utility player, but he certainly won't be anywhere near the 11. That's for sure.
I mean, midfield, I went for Mickey Almiron, Hayden, the 2 Longstaff brothers, Matt Ritchie, and John Joe.
Ooh.
I think he's just blaming me because he wants a new contract. He gives you a new contract, you go back the old way.
Well, yeah, it's a fair point.
Yeah, I can't argue with any of them. I think over the next maybe the next 2 years, all of those players will be transitioned out. Not even 3 or 4. I think they'll be there won't be a mass turnaround. So all of those players won't leave the squad because we need a squad of 25. But I can't argue with those players being moved on. There's a lot of those players. David Cook's just put there: Hendricks, Hayden, and Gale.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
That was
Gale-
going to be
Gale
big.
looks
That was
quite
going to be my
like-
big question, actually, Dan. I was going to
Hayden
say,
and
what are you
Gale.
going to do with Hendricks
Yeah.
or Hendrick?
Yeah, he'll be gone too. I've gone with him. I'll get rid of him as well because he's dead with Gale, and before I left last week, he mentioned the ESM about going, and I'm not a big fan of him, as you know, but
Yeah.
I just think he's a Madonna player, likes all the attention to himself, and he thinks he's playing WWF something when he wears all his tape on his hands and all that. I'll keep him if he's going to play if he's going to play as a team player, but not if he's going to play individually by himself.
Yeah. No, it's a fair point.
Darren, don't upset me.
Sorry,
I thought you were going to wield the axe on ASL, and I was about to say, don't do it. Don't do it.
I don't know. Like,
you made a good point. You made a good point. If he's going to work as a team and you're going to and he fits in the system, you know, at times he's looked really good in the system this season under Eddie Howe. At times he's looked a little bit disjointed. He's going to be the biggest question mark on Sunday. Is he going to start? And if he does, how does he play against an informed Tottenham team? But you're right. These players are going to be, are going to be running the gauntlet. They're going to be saying
it's going to be a hard game on Sunday. Don't get us wrong. We've got to be realistic. Tottenham at home. We've got a good record against Tottenham, but the odds will win against us. Do you know what I mean?
I'm gonna add Pete for when we go into our Q&A. We've got Harry Kane as a subject. I'm gonna add ASM in there. I know that's all we talk about, but yeah, I do. I think Davin raises a great point because again, this kind of goes back to what we were saying a while ago, saying that we didn't disagree on this, Pete, but if a super house, a giant club was to come in now for ASM and we were all in love with him and he was playing fantastic, you'd be saying 70, 80, 90 million. That's what you'd be asking for. But my question and something to think about, and in fact, Dan, I'm going to ask you it. So say between now and the end of the season, ASM falls out with Eddie Howe, and it's abundantly clear that this relationship that he's got with Newcastle can't continue, and we're looking to sell. Let's say, clubs are aware of that, and maybe we go down to 50 million for argument's sake because they know that we want rid of him. The problem is, who's going to spend 50 million on Alan St-Maximin? And it's not to say that you wouldn't spend 50 million on Alan St-Maximin, but which club is going to have the money to go and say, yeah, do you know what? We've got 50 million here. I want to spend it on Alan St-Maximin. And I think that's always the issue for me, because I do think to myself, he is a risk, and he is, he's a maverick, a fantastic player on his day. But certain clubs, I'll give Liverpool as an example. He wouldn't last 10 minutes under Jurgen Klopp, in my opinion. I genuinely don't think he would, because Jurgen Klopp will not make allowances for him.
Mm-hmm.
He brings in players who all work. I mean, look at the pressing that Mane, Salah, and Jota or Firmino do. They work bloody hard all the time. Would someone like Jurgen Klopp afford Alan St-Maximin that? Would Pep Guardiola afford Alan St-Maximin? Oh no, go on. You don't have to chat back. Don't worry about it. You just stay up. I mean, what are your thoughts on that, Dan?
I'll be honest, I don't think he's a top 4 player. I don't. Guardiola wouldn't entertain him. Klopp wouldn't entertain him. Tottenham, I kind of see Conte.
I think Tottenham would have them all day. But have they got the money? Probably not.
Yeah, but we said before, they've got any money for buying players.
Who was that? Sorry, Pete.
I think Arsenal would take him as well.
Oh, yeah. Arsenal would. Yeah. But again, Pete, going back to, again, like what I was saying then, Arteta, he's been very strict, hasn't he? He got rid of Aubameyang. He's very, very strict, isn't he, with what he wants from his team, what he wants from his players. And by the sounds of it, he wants all his players on the same page. He wants all of his players to be workers. He's brought in a very young team now, hasn't he? And they're all very hard working, I would say. I don't think there's very many flamboyant players within that team. Probably the last one was probably Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, but Do you think he would risk breaking that up if he had the money and sort of
I don't think you would personally. I don't think Arteta will work out because it's already shown Arteta he's taking the rubbish, is he? And I think Maximin would want. I think he would. I don't know. I think he would cause trouble at Arsenal.
The last time they spent big money on a flair player, they brought Nicolas Pepe in, and that didn't go too well. So I think they've already been burnt. Yeah, they've already been burnt once. I think they paid 72 million.
72.
Yeah.
It's just crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's madness. I think that Arsenal have been burnt, so I don't think Arsenal would pay that sort of money again. But I think Alan St-Maximin could cause some serious damage in that current Arsenal team.
Oh, 1,000,000% he could. Yeah.
You think he would play on Sunday then, Maximin? If he doesn't play, I think it definitely a rabbit off. If he doesn't play Sunday,
I think he has to start. Of course, I'm going to say that.
Hey, he scored 2 goals, didn't he, in that friendly?
Yeah.
The 5-0 friendly.
What do you think, Darren? Do you think he'll start? Do you think he'll start, Darren?
I like to think. I don't know. I don't think because we're going to be under the caution most of the game, and he may come as a sub to get a bit pace up there. But I think he likes. My opinion. I think he likes Murphy more than Alex and Maximin. You know what I mean? Murphy's a lot more. He does a lot more what he would do. He tracks back a little bit more, but Maximin doesn't.
Yeah. Well, yeah, that's a fair point. Chris, what do you think? Do you think St. Maxi will start?
Do you know what, Pete? Like you, I think he's got to. I do. You know what? I'm playing devil's advocate with Maxi. I think anyone who watches these shows on a regular basis knows how much of a fan I am of Alan St-Maximin. There is times where he frustrates me, and there is times where I think, oh, bloody hell, you know, like when he wasn't tracking back and stuff, and it does worry you because we are such a hard-working team, and the philosophy this season certainly is all working together, all on the same page. Everyone should be putting a shift in. Going forward, will that be the case? I don't know. Not in terms of not putting a shift in, but I mean in terms of we will maybe be able to afford these more luxury players because that comes with the territory when you buy, you know, higher end players. Like nobody's going to expect Mo Salah to proper graft all game, track back all game. Klopp wants him to work hard high up the pitch, but he's not expecting him to run to right back and stuff like that. But this team, as it stands right now, is a hard-working team, and we're all trying to just get points on the board. But for me, Alan St-Maximin, when fit, when firing, he's got to come back in the team. I think I took a lot of stick a few weeks ago for saying that I would drop Fraser and put him to the right and put Maxi back in the left. And some people didn't like that, and I completely understand because since Fraser's played on the left, he's been fantastic. And it does seem odd to kind of, you know, take a player out of position where he prefers to play and is playing very, very well. But then this is Alan St-Maximin we're talking about, and when Alan St-Maximin's on form, as we saw when we played Everton at home at St James's Park, Alan St-Maximin won that game practically on his own. That's what he can do. That's how good he is. So I'm kind of slightly going against what I said before when I was talking, you know, theoretically, but I'm a massive fan of Alan St-Maximin, and the fact that my favourite all-time Newcastle player is Hatem Ben Arfa probably tells you what kind of footballer I appreciate. So Alan St-Maximin falls into that bracket.
Yeah. He lost me against Cambridge. That's why he lost me. He was trying to beat the full team every time instead of passing the ball.
Yeah.
And players, that's why. And then I watched him a few. Like, I know Evan he was unplayable, but before you become unplayable, in the first 15 minutes, he was rolling about the floor most of the game at home. And then he started to play. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Definitely. It's I wouldn't necessarily see that as a bad thing though, because he's trying. You know, towards the end of Ben Arfa's sort of time at Newcastle, he wasn't trying, wasn't working hard enough on the pitch. He was only really going at it when he got the ball to his feet. But he's still trying. When he gets the ball, he still tries to make things happen. He's not doing it for any other reason that he wants us to win matches and score goals, and he just wants to be the man to do it. He's no different to any of the other top players. You look at the absolute top level. They want to play for their team. They want to make sure their team wins, but they want to be the one to do it. They want to be the one to win the matches because they want to be the main man. Like Alan Saint-Maximin, the thing that I respect about Alan Saint-Maximin is that he doesn't hide his feelings. He wants to win the Ballon d'Or. Is it going to be hard? Yeah, damn hard to win the Ballon d'Or. Not even Neymar's won the Ballon d'Or. Neymar is an outstanding talent in world football and has been for the past 10 years. So it's going to be incredibly hard. But he has those ambitions to want to be there. There's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with him saying, I want to play for my national team. He wants to play for France. Nothing wrong with that. He wants to strive for the best. I haven't got an issue with it. I just find it difficult when some fans go, and they laugh off the fact that he wants to be the Ballon d'Or, and they laugh off, he's no good, he can't get into France. But he has aspirations of being there. That's not a bad thing.
What's wrong with being ambitious?
Yeah, we should want him to be in those positions, because if he's going to be in those positions, with the club currently as it stands, if he's going to be in those positions, it means he's taking the club further forward and where we want to go. He's taking us in that direction if he's going to be there. And the one thing I would hate about Alan Saint-Maximin is that if he achieved those things at another club, that wouldn't sit right with me. That would annoy the hell out of me, that we let him go because we got annoyed or frustrated because he didn't track back to support Matty Target, but then he goes off to another team and ends up winning trophies and getting the accolades, because they've given him the opportunity that we didn't. So
which league do you think he would go then abroad? If you think he left Newcastle, which team would he go to abroad then?
I think there were teams in Spain that he'd go to. I think he'd go back to France. I think that there's teams in France that he could play for. I think PSG would certainly look at him. PSG need a complete overhaul. They've got players that are too old. I speak to a brother who's PSG season ticket holder all the time. They need a massive overhaul. A lot of their top players will probably leave in the summer. Di Maria's, Draxler's, Mbappe will go. They're going to have a massive clear out, so they're going to want new players coming in. There's teams in Italy, with Dybala leaving Juventus, they need to clear out. Who's to say they're not going to bring someone in? Inter Milan, I can see him playing at Inter Milan. I can see him starting regularly at Inter Milan. I can see him playing at AC Milan. There are teams that will go out there that will play Champions League football that, they might not win the Champions League, but they might win Serie A. And
get it wrong, if he changes his attitude a little bit, he might settle in Newcastle. He might he might turn good. Do you know what I mean? But like say in the summer, I would try and say that Calvin Phillips from Leeds. I think some like him midfield will go well, and that Conor Corey Crystal Palace.
Oh, Conor Gallagher.
Conor Gallagher. Sorry. I watched him on Saturday, and I think, tell you what, he's young, he's hungry. He's at Chelsea at the minute on loan.
That's the key word. He's hungry. I agree. He looks like he wants to kick on, and he wants to make something of his career, and that's what makes him so appealing.
But would he be interested in coming down? That's a thing. Like, would he be interested in coming here? Do you know what I mean?
Me and you, Dan, are going to fall out in a second. We are going to fall out.
Yeah. I think Conor Gallagher would be very interested to join Newcastle, personally. I think he would. I struggled, Davin, to think of any players who wouldn't be interested in the Newcastle project. The only ones who I can think of, maybe, would be the likes of your Haalands, your Mbappes, players like that who are looking for instant success. But players in the levels just below that, yeah, why not? Especially the young ones who've got 2 or 3 years to wait. Yeah, Yano, great point.
Yano, there was always a reason why I liked you. There was always a reason why I liked you. We're on the same page.
Yeah,
we're on the same
page. Like I say, I would get Botman. I like the look of Botman.
Yeah, Botman certainly looks a prospect, doesn't he?
Yeah, again, you need a good right back. I tell you, another left back for Target.
Yeah.
And
That's why I wonder whether we give Jamal Lewis another season, because he was improving under Howe, and was it 2 or 3 games where he played and he looked pretty decent, and then obviously he had that bad injury again.
Yeah.
But I don't think Eddie Howe's ruled him out completely, and I do believe that he's been left out obviously because of because of the abundance of options we have at left back in Matt Ritchie, Matty Target, Dan Burn, Paul Dummer.
Yeah.
But they won't be here at the start of next season.
No,
Matt Ritchie's not going to be here. Paul Dummett probably won't be here.
Mhm.
And I don't think he's going to be looking to play Dan Burn left back anytime soon.
No,
So
yeah.
all of a sudden, you think, well, hang on, left back sorted. Bring Matty Target in permanently. You've got Jamal Lewis as cover, and then
Yeah.
you've got Dan Burn if you desperately need him. So why upgrade there once you've got your number one sorted? And let's be honest, Matty Target, I don't think he suffers with injuries very often. I think he's got a pretty good injury record. So, why go and spend 15-20 million on a left back in addition to Matty Target when you've got someone there who is capable of doing the job?
I think it's key especially the summer, just to be sensible how we've been in January transfer market. Didn't be, and all the people say our top 4, top 6. In my opinion, you've got to be realistic. You've got to go step by step. You've got to say top 10 next year. Anything else is a plus, and then move on from that. That's just my opinion,
I just to add my 2 points in. Jamal Lewis won't go anywhere, in my opinion. He'll be at Newcastle next season.
Yeah, I think
now,
so.
The one thing that's been talked about a lot is that, and Eddie Howe's actually mentioned it a number of times as well, is that Jamal Lewis has been battling on for the last year with a groin injury. So he's been playing with a groin injury that's really affected him. And so the reason why he's been taken out, as far as I'm concerned with regards to what Eddie Howe said, is because he obviously had the bad hamstring injury that he was out for, 6-7 weeks.
Yeah.
In that time, we had Paul Dummett that came back. And therefore, we already had 2 left backs because he wanted a mainstayer in there, someone like Matty Target, who Chris has said is very rarely injured. It's a perfect position. Now, it was the perfect opportunity for Jamal Lewis to go, right, okay, let me get my hamstring injury 100% sorted. Let me get my groin injury that's troubled me for the last year 100% sorted. The other boys will go and keep us in the Premier League, and then I'll come back in the summer and show you why I should be playing as number 1. And I can see him hitting the ground running in pre-season.
He hasn't. What I will say, he hasn't had a fair shot at Newcastle. I will say that he hasn't had a good chance. He's been like that. Bruce didn't play him. He bought him before he played him, and he had a few injuries. But I'll say that 100% he hasn't had a fair chance. So
Jamal Lewis is the perfect Eddie Howe player. He is the type of player that Eddie Howe wants. Now, what's interesting about this is that, in my opinion, Paul Dummett isn't an Eddie Howe player. He's a defensive fullback that does a job, but as everyone said before, Dummett is actually a centre-back. He plays his best football at centre-back. Now, are we going to play him at centre-back? No. We're going to look for better at centre-back. And what's been interesting about all of this is, and I might be wrong, so point me in the wrong, tell me that if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that Paul Dummett's contract runs out in the summer.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
There's been no talk whatsoever about him signing a new deal. The only one that's been talked about is Fabian Schär. There's been no talk about Federico Fernandez. He'll be gone. That's another man in the squad out. We've got Paul Dummett.
Would he get rid of Lascelles?
Lascelles will still be here next season. I think Lascelles has still got 1 more year. I think if you look at this, if you look at the centre backs right now, we've got Byrne, Shaw, Lascelles, Fernandez, Clark. Although Clark's not in the squad, there's 5 centre backs there. I think Fernandez and Clark go. That's 2. That leaves 3 centre backs to bring 1 more in, 1 quality centre back, and I pray to God that it's Sven Botman. If we bring someone like Sven Botman in, that's your 4 centre backs. You got 2 left-sided.
What's interesting about that as well, Pete?
2 right-sided centre backs.
Yeah, I was just about to say, yeah, you're absolutely spot on. You've got Sven Botman as your first choice left centre back. Burns the second choice, and you got Shah first choice, Lascelles. Yeah.
There's your balance.
Absolutely spot on that.
There's your balance. There's your 4 centre backs, 2 right-sided. Shah will be first choice right-sided. Lascelles will be backup. Botman would be left-sided first choice, with Dan Burn your backup. And there's your 4 centre backs going into the season. For me, that is one of the top 4 centre back pairing, in terms of a pairing of the centre backs that you're going to get probably in the bottom half of the table, maybe in the top 10 in terms of quality players. If you bring someone like Sven Botman in, that for me is it. You've got Matty Targett and Jamal Lewis is your your left backs. You've got Kieran Trippier. There's a question mark about Manquillo, but I think Eddie Howe likes Manquillo. He never moans when he's on the bench. He can be on the bench for 10 games and not say a word, not moan one iota, and then can come in and play 6 games and actually play really well. He's one of them. He's one of those unique squad players that they don't need 5 or 6 games to get up to speed. He can come on off the bench and do a job for the team. That's hard to find, especially when we only paid for 3-4 million for him. So I think maybe he'll stay with Trippier being the mainstay right fullback. And that's potentially, with a new goalkeeper, that's your back 5 set potentially.
Yeah.
I do think Eddie's. I think now he's writing down who he wants possibly for next year, and they're probably like giving him he may not be giving them a list, but he's inside. He probably knows who he wants rid of and who he wants. He might be looking now. You never know. But I hope. I like Eddie Howe as a manager. He's a young. You watch him in like the NUFC on the website. What in training, his motivation, everything he does. It's just. I like how he talks. He just talks sensible. When you listen, you can listen for ages how he talks. You know, yeah. I think
he's a top professional manager. I'm really excited about him. I really am. I'm so happy he's our manager. And you know what's been interesting? I don't know if both of you guys have heard this, but there's been a lot of people like in the press that have been in the last 2-3 weeks talking about him potentially being a long-term manager. There's already people in the press that are talking about him being here beyond his contract, which is interesting. Now he's obviously got a lot of work to do to prove that he can stay here beyond his contract, but journalists that are talking about this are journalists that get to see a little bit more behind the scenes than we do. And there obviously must be something that they're seeing behind the scenes that makes them think that he could be potentially a long-term manager at Newcastle, which excites me. He's an English manager that could potentially take this team into Europe and maybe beyond. Yeah. There's no better feeling for me than having an English manager take us back up the table again. It would be such an amazing feeling to not just be going up that table, but going up the table with an English manager that's growing as a manager with the club that's also growing at the same time. I just think that'd be amazing. I don't know what you guys think.
Yeah, I totally agree. 100%. He's English man, a young English manager. It's when to do that because he's even before he come to Newcastle. I wanted him. I didn't want Emery, who was the Valencia manager. I didn't want him. I think he would have been down if I had him. But Eddie Howe's had a good rest 2 years out. He's got new ideas. Like what's Kieran Trippier's interview a few weeks ago on Joe Jory. He said he's just workaholic. He's just completely in training. The dude said pieces not right till he get it right. Do it 20 times till he get it right. He wants it done perfectly, and that's what he's like.
Yeah, no, I completely agree, Dan. It's been an absolute pleasure chatting to you, mate. I'm going to have to move it on because I've got to do the half an hour sponsors, and then me and Pete. Do you know what? We've had so many questions, and it's really great. And I want to try and get through as many as I can, if not them all. And we've said that we want to try and do a 2-hour show tonight. That's going to be the aim going forward. So I'm conscious we're on 125 already, so we better get a move on. But Davin, as always, mate, absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
Boys. Thank you. Bye.
Take care, mate. Take care.
Man.
Great chats tonight. I know we've only had 2 people on, Pete, but great chat. And I tell you what, mate, honestly, I know you alluded to it before. It's got even worse. We've got so many comments in the chat. We're gonna have to fly through these questions, mate, because I want to try and get through them all if we can.
We've got,
So we'll have to try and limit it. I don't know how we're going to limit it, but we're going to have to try.
we've got a monster amount of questions, guys, and they're all brilliant questions, all very different ones as well. So yeah, we will do our best to get everyone's questions on. As Chris has alluded to in previous shows, if we haven't put your question, your comment on the screen, it's because we've starred it. So we're looking to bring it back later on in the show for this section right now. But I think before Chris starts to talk, we need to just take a little bit of a deep breath.
Got to be ready for this. I always feel like I'm messing up as well, Pete. I try my best with it, do you know what I mean? But obviously, I don't do it the same justice as Steve does. But you know, we can only do our best, don't we? I think we need to bring back them videos. I did enjoy that, the little 2-minute video, and you just blast it on. And,
videos.
Yeah, Steve's away, and you're just like, right, okay. Steve knows what he's talking about, but we'll give it a good go. We'll give it a good go.
Go for it,
Right, okay. So I say main sponsor. It is because you know, they've been with us for a very long time, and we absolutely love them. Spider VPN. For all your internet security, get in touch with the lads at Spider VPN. If you go onto Google and you search Spider VPN, they will appear at the top of your search bar. They're the lads to trust if you want any internet security or protection. We have skipsandbins.com, telephone number 0800 25 45 25 free, email inquiries at skipsandbins.com, website address is www.skipsandbins.com, easy contract free easy contract free and pay as you go waste collection. There you go, I got my words out in the end. And there's Sir Bobby in the bottom right corner, who was aptly named after I think it was a competition, wasn't it, to name the bee. And yeah, everyone went with Sir Bobby. So there he is. We also have a big shout out to L&G Family Funeral Directors. They can be contacted on 0191 389 7245. And this is my favourite one. Garden of Healing Dispensary, CBD, hemp and cannabinoid specialists. Visit www.thegohd.com. We also have Arcot Interiors for all your kitchen needs. Get in touch with the lads at Arcot Interiors if you're after any kitchen essentials. qtechshop.co.uk. So this is QTech Shop, and they are based in Wallsend, Newcastle. And if you're looking for any snooker, pool and snooker accessories, get in touch with John Justice Allen at qtechshop.co.uk. They also run the NUFC Matters website as well. So big shout out to John and qtechshop.co.uk. We also have ClickEye. Meet the new Game Over screen dropping to a Cleveland device near you, and that can be found on the Apple Store and also Google Play. Cleveland.game. Big shout out as always to Jab Signature. Jab Signature do all the posters and flyers for the show. Big massive thanks to them for their support. And don't forget to check out their clothing line as well. Really, really good. We also have Media Arts, and we thank them for all the videos that get put together and all the special effects. If you haven't subscribed already to Newcastle Legends, why not? Click the button in the bottom right corner to subscribe to the show so you'll get reminders of when they are on. Don't forget to like the show. Keep the comments flooding in, as you know we absolutely love them, and don't forget to share to your social media channels. If you don't get to watch the show live, make sure that you share it with other people, family, friends, colleagues, and you know, the wider it goes out, the better. If you're needing to catch up because you didn't watch it live, should have said that earlier. If you're wanting to catch up on the show and you've missed the opportunity to watch it live, don't forget you can do so on iTunes and Spotify. You will see a scanned code on the screen at the moment, and that is if you want to become an NUFC Matters member. If you scan the code on the screen right now, it will take you directly to the link, and this is what you could have. So you've got your mugs, your scarves, your pens, and then you will become an official cult member. And don't forget, special offer at the moment. If you subscribe to the show, you can receive a free car window sticker, an NUFC Matters one. I keep saying I'll have to get in touch with John for one of them. I wouldn't mind one of them on my window. So have to do that, Pete. Have you got one, Pete? Have you got one yet? No, we'll have to get you on, Pete. We'll have to get in touch with John Justice Allen. Don't forget, for all your pre and post match talks with Steve and Malcolm McDonald, Super Mac, visit the Dog and Parrot, where there is music, drinks, and pool, and that is in Newcastle upon Tyne, and it's about a 10-minute walk from the stadium, so it's not far at all. I've been there many a time, and it's a really, really nice pub. Don't forget, even though there's no football matches on at the moment, don't forget to support NUFC foodbank.co.uk for the match day bucket, whether it's 20p, £20, £200. Get your donations in. The food bank really gratefully received that. It goes to a fantastic cause. Where are we? There's some other things on here that I know I shouldn't be flashing up. I'm going to take the opportunity to plug Loads at HQ because I always do that. Me and Pete, we are on another channel called Loads at HQ, which you're probably all aware of. But if you're not, get yourselves on YouTube. If you want to hear more from me and Pete, that is the channel to go to. We run shows. Well, we run at least 3, 4, 5 shows a week. Myself, Pete, Martin, Daz, and Richie. Yeah, get behind us. We're on our road to 3,000 subscribers, and we're trying our best. So if you haven't already, please go onto YouTube and subscribe. We would really appreciate it. Right, Pete, we got there. Right, so before we go to the comments, I want to touch on Harry Kane, or you want to touch on Harry Kane?
Yeah, it was not. It's not Harry Kane as such. I mean, it was a good conversation you were having earlier about Harry Kane. I caught a little bit of it, and you know, it's not with Harry Kane. It's not about him, you know, not wanting him to come to the club.
No, it's not.
We had the opportunity to sign Harry Kane. Of course, like you wouldn't say no to that. You wouldn't turn it down. But I just think, and you know, guys and girls in the chat, Chris, of course, if you think differently, of course, come out and say. I just think with this Newcastle project, that all of these players that are being linked, I think there's a conversation about, you know, Harry Kane. There's a conversation about Gareth Bale. There's a conversation about one or two others that have either been at the top of their peak or probably coming down on the other side of it. Is that, you know, Eden Hazard's been another one that we've been linked with. I don't think this Newcastle project are looking for that type of player. I think, you know, a little bit like Man City. I think if we're gonna sign a player, or if we're gonna have a top level player at our club, they're either going to be just on the cusp of being top level quality, and we sign them and make them that type of player, or we're going to sign a player young and develop them into that type of player. I think that's the kind of player we're going for. So we talked about, and I keep banging on about it, your Sven Botmans, your Darwin Núñez's. They're not there yet, but I think we're going to sign them with a view to being there. Harry Kane is already there. For me, Harry Kane's already played his peak. I think what you're going to see from Harry Kane now is, look, he's a great goal scorer. He's always going to score goals. He's always going to have those good moments. He probably will at some point, or have a good chance maybe on Sunday. Fingers crossed he doesn't. But as a peak level player, someone talked about him, I think you did, Chris, in terms of losing a yard of pace. I actually think he's lost 3 yards of pace.
Yeah, you could argue that.
Near his pace, and which is why he doesn't do the high press anymore. Is because he's lost his pace to get in and around the pitch. But I just think, you know, with that type of player already going down on his peak, do we really need to pay 150 million for him? Really? Or can we pay a little bit more for a younger player that's going to be there for 8 to 10 years? Playing at that potential level and going one further in actually winning as something that Harry Kane hasn't done yet in his career. And that's not to say he won't, but he hasn't won anything to date with the amount of goals that he's scored. And it's just a case of, for me, I'm not, when these players get linked, when I see us linked with, you know, Gareth Bale, Neymar, Hazard, you know, even he's a young lad, but even the likes of Erling Haaland and other people like that, I just think they're not the guys that we're looking at. In my opinion, not that we wouldn't want them, but they're not the guys that this scouting network is looking at. They're looking at players to make better players. Am I wrong with? Am I wrong about that, or would you?
No,
Agree?
I don't think you're wrong at all. I think you've hit the nail on the head, Pete. I mean, like I say, if Harry Kane signed tomorrow, we'd all be shouting from the rooftops. We'd be delighted. Why would you not want the England captain, who's on the cusp of breaking Alan Shearer's all-time Premier League goal scoring records? Why would you not want that? All I think you're saying is, which is absolutely right and fair to say, is that we're probably searching in a different market. And would it represent value for money? Would it?
Yeah.
I don't feel like we're there yet, and I certainly wouldn't. Not that I wouldn't want us to go and spend it. That's not what I'm saying, but I do think the money is better invested elsewhere. And I do, Dunhill made a great point. He said there we need players who are hungry, and I'm not suggesting Harry Kane's not hungry. I'm not saying that, but if you compare Harry Kane to the likes of a Darwin Núñez, brand new to the Premier League, 22 years of age, excited at the prospect of playing in the Premier League, wants to go on, kick on, do great things for his country, Uruguay, do great things for his club. So that would be Newcastle. You can't tell me that Harry Kane would be more hungry than Darwin Núñez, because I don't think he would be. So no, I think it's an absolutely fair point what you say, Pete. And somebody said it earlier on in the chat, and we will get to it. About financial fair play. I think we've got to be, we've got to be wary of that.
Yeah, definitely. And I honestly think, with everything that's going on in the world right now, especially the world of football, I think these players, this club, this ownership are looking at all of that with a fine-tooth comb, because we are the ownership. We are the new kids on the block that if we put one step out of line, they're going to be bang at us. Yeah, I was. I went for a shave during the ads.
Oh God.
And it grew back, but I just think that our ownership are really going to look at things with a fine-tooth comb, and they are going to make sure that everything is by the book. And so, I think it's going to be really, really interesting. And I think there was a comment earlier on in the show, actually, about a certain journalist saying that we've got a certain amount of money to spend in the summer. And I think, I'm not sure if they're asking whether it was true or not, or what our thoughts were. But what do you think, Chris, that we've got in terms of a budget? What do you think is the budget, or what could the budget be? What do you think would be realistic for us?
I think realistic.
There's it.
There you go. There it is. Yeah. Well, for the start, and what I will say, Gary, from a kickoff, is nobody knows. So straight away, nobody knows, and any journalist that tells you it's this or it's that is just making it up. I think anyone would back that up. But in terms of what I believe is realistic, I think we spoke about this, Pete. I don't know whether it was last week. It was probably on Loaded, in fact, saying, oh, no, it was with Mitch. It was with Mitch on Loaded.
Yeah.
And I said to Mitch that what I believe is it will probably be somewhere in the region of similar 90 to 120 million, probably somewhere around that ballpark. But I do believe if a player becomes available who ticks all the boxes, meets the requirements, and it's not silly money. If we've already spent 100 million and a player becomes available for 50 million, who's high on our list and we want him, I think we go get him. Simple as. I don't think there'll be any hesitation. There will be a list of players who they will want and they'll be looking at. And, certain ones they'll probably think, oh, I've got no chance, or he's off the radar, or he's not leaving his club, or the club aren't interested in selling. And if that player becomes available, I think we go and get them. Simple as. Or an opportunity comes up that, you couldn't imagine beyond your wildest dreams. Like, say, for example, I don't know, like, I'm trying to think of a young prospect at a club who they probably wouldn't sell. I don't know, say Phil Foden. Let's say Phil Foden fell out with Guardiola in the summer and he was like, I want to go. You're telling me we're not going to be in for Phil Foden if they're selling him?
Yeah.
We would definitely be in for Phil Foden if they were selling him. But, it's probably not going to happen. There's a strong possibility it won't happen. But we'd throw our hat in the ring if that opportunity became available. I mean, that's what I think anyway, Pete.
Yeah, I agree. I know obviously what Gary's thoughts is with regards to that particular journalist that put that the price out of around 90 million. I'm going to annoy him, Gary. So I apologise, Gary, and maybe a few others. That I agree that that's probably the budget that we'll work to. I think that we've got to remember we will probably get the best part of 120 million for staying in the Premier League, around that sort of figure. So I reckon they'll probably take about 90 million of that and have that for transfers. But the one thing that I think that journalist and what we're forgetting is player sales. So if we sell Miguel Almiron for 15 million, if we sell Isaac Hayden for 8 million, if we get Dwight Gale for, if we get Dwight Gale
5 million maybe
for 5 million,
yeah,
Matt Ritchie for the same, you're already talking there, like what, 30 plus million on top of that. That then takes you to the 120, maybe a little bit more. Okay, so if the budget's around 90 to 100 million, and you add those figures on top of that, you're talking the best part of 120, 130 million, around that sort of ballpark. That's the type of budget that I would expect Newcastle to.
Yeah, and I think that's a fair assumption. I think, like you say, Pete, that's an educated guess, and to be fair, I believe that's what that journalist has said. Unfortunately, the way they word it is like, oh, Newcastle have got a budget of 90 million. No one knows what the budget is, but I think you're absolutely right to think that it would be 90 million, or maybe a bit more, or maybe a bit less. It'd be around that ballpark. If they're willing to spend that in January, and I do believe they probably were going to spend less. The Chris Wood deal, for example, like you say, the injury, to Callum Wilson, it was kind of like, shit, we need to do something. Maybe that Chris Wood deal wouldn't have happened, like you said earlier, if it had Callum Wilson not got injured, and then we'd have probably spent what, 65, 75, whatever. 65, around that mark, 50 million. It would have been around there maybe, and then they would go bigger in the summer.
Yeah, and this is the thing. There's a question out here that I don't think many people have mentioned. I think one or two have, but who's to say that Chris Wood's not on his way in the summer? Who's to say that we don't take a hit on Chris Wood and we sell him at 30 years old for 15 million? We take a 10 million hit.
Oh, 1,000,000%. I think if someone came in with 15 million, we'd snap it up. I do.
Would anyone? Would you class it? And I'll ask you this, Chris, but everyone in the chat as well. Would you class that as a failure if we signed Chris Wood for 25 million, but then sold him for about 15, knowing that we're playing Premier League football next season? Would you consider that a bad deal?
No. I think if anything, I think it's a very clever deal, because ultimately, and everyone's heard me defend Chris Wood on this channel, and I'll continue to defend him while he's in a Newcastle shirt. And I do think that he brings something to the team. I do think that he can do something for Newcastle. But do I see Chris Wood here in 2 or 3 years' time? No. And I think if
he reminds me so much of a Darryl Murphy.
Yeah, he is. He's been brought in to do a job, and let's not forget we've weakened the opposition by signing him. Do you remember, Pete? Everyone was talking about this Wout Weghorst, and don't get me wrong, he made a fantastic start. The goals have dried up now, haven't they? So it's kind of one of those things where you look and you think, well, if we sign Chris Wood for 6 months and he does a job for us, then great. And then if we reassess, things change, don't they, in the summer? Things change. We look to improve as a team, as a squad. And I think if somebody came in with 10 million, 10 or 15 million, I think we'd do it. Yeah, Pete's just messaged me then to say he's frozen. I had a feeling he froze unless he was doing a very good impression of like a mannequin. So I assumed he's frozen. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kick off the questions. So as I say, we've had loads of really, really good questions, and I want to try and get in as many as I possibly can. Now, obviously, I'm only going to be able to give my own opinion, and we may be able to revisit a couple of them once Pete returns. But let's start with these questions. So, first question. Question from Tom Dixon. Patrick Schick, do you think Newcastle should sign him in the summer? Now, this is a really interesting one, Tom, because we've been linked with Patrick Schick a number of times over the past few years, and he's certainly a player who Newcastle have registered an interest in. Our chief scout, Steve Nixon. I think it's pretty well known that he is as a club we've looked at Patrick Schick, and he's probably someone that does interest us. My only concern with Patrick Schick now, I would say, Tom, is that I feel like the value's gone. Like they're talking now about 70 million, and I'm not sure I'd pay 70 million for Patrick Schick, if I'm honest. I'm not saying he's not a good player. I'm not saying he could turn out to be a really good signing, but I think if you're talking a cheaper deal for Darwin Núñez, I think that's where your value is. That's not to say we won't go for him. And I do believe he's knocked us back a couple of times in the past as well, which I'm not keen on. I know obviously the landscape's changed a lot. And if we went in for him now, I'm sure he'd feel a lot differently about it. But I'm not sure he's the answer, if I'm honest. But hey, who knows? And like I say, another Harry Kane situation. I would certainly not reject Patrick Schick if he came in. I'd be pleased because he's clearly a really good goal scorer. And I think he'd do well in the Premier League. So yeah, who knows? David Cook, hi guys, what's your loaded show from the takeover day last night? Very emotional. Seeing how emotional you were there. Yeah, do you know what, mate? What a day! What a day! I was in York. I was in York the night before, and then I was travelling home. And do you know what? I'll always remember it. I was on the train, and obviously the night before, I knew, all the takeover rumours were happening, and I was thinking, oh God, wonder if this happened, or you kind of convince yourself, don't you, that it's not going to happen and it's all just a dream. And yeah, I remember being on the train home, and I think wasn't it just after 5 o'clock or just before 5 o'clock, and it got announced. And I remember like tearing up on the train, and my mate, who's a Liverpool fan, was opposite me, and he was like, "You all right?" And I was like, "Yeah." I said, "I'm just feeling a bit overwhelmed by all this because obviously not just us, but the fans everywhere, so fully invested. The shows that Steve did on NUFC Matters, for all the takeover stuff with Keith and Steve Hasty and Mitch. Like you all, I was glued to it, and I was thinking, oh, this is never going to happen. And Shorten were being robbed, and then all of a sudden, when they're like, yeah, it's going through. It was just out of this world. And funnily enough, David, I think we're going to be doing a special show on that next week because hang on, let me check my diary. Yeah, Thursday, a week on Thursday, will be 6 months to the day since the takeover went through. So keep an eye on Loaders because I think we're going to do a special show for it, just to rejoice and remember the day when our club's fortunes changed for the better. So yeah, it's going to be a great show if we get round to doing it. But yeah, it should be good. So yeah, keep an eye out for that on Loaded next week. Tom Dixon asks, we have Spurs coming up on Sunday. I think it will be a tough game. We've got to try and keep Kane and Son quiet all game. Yeah, Tom, you're absolutely right. It will be a tough game. And, any Antonio Conte side is difficult to play against. Massive fan of Son. Massive fan of him. He is a big threat. And Harry Kane, I think somebody mentions, one of the guests mentioned before, that Harry Kane always seems to score against us, which is absolutely right. You can't rule out Harry Kane. He's a top striker. So yeah, it'll be a very difficult game. But this is the nice thing about being a Newcastle fan these days. We're such a forward-thinking, progressive club. I believe every game now we go into, we've got a fighting chance, and certainly away to Tottenham, I'm not worried. I'd take a point now, but I'm not worried about it, and I think we could, we could still seriously do something. Okay, David Cook again. What do you make about Dubravka being withdrawn from the internationals due to angina, but actually throat infection lost in interpretation? Yeah, it's an interesting one. This was going on in the chat earlier, wasn't it, David? And we were saying, about the fact that he's going to be out, Dubravka, seemingly. Oh, don't worry, Pete. Don't worry. I've just been gabbing away. I've just been gabbing away to everyone at home. I'll just finish answering this and then I'll come to you, Pete. But yeah, I was just saying about Dubravka. Just saying it looks like he's going to be out at the weekend. Big loss because obviously, no offense to Carl Darlow, but he's probably not one of our stronger players. But I'm sure he'll do a good job. I mean, to be fair to Carl Darlow, he always gives 110%. And I'm not too worried because he does have a far better defence in front of him now, or certainly a more organised defence in front of him. So who knows? This could be the making of Carl Darlow.
I was going to say the 2.5 time. Bernsey tweeted out today whether people believe Bernsey or not. we've had him on here, NUFC Matter. We've had him on Loaded. Nice enough guy. Had a good chat with him both times. He tweeted out today that there could well be a bit of a mistake in terms of the wording that was used by
that's right.
the medical staff, in that actually the terming that seemed like it said angina is referred to something along the lines of tonsillitis. It could be, which is more antibiotics more bearable, particularly after a week's rest and a number of courses of antibiotics. He could well be okay. I don't know how true that is. It could well be rubbish as far as I'm concerned. I don't know. I don't know that for sure, but that was just something that was tweeted out today that made me think maybe there's a chance. But we'll see.
Yeah. No, definitely. I mean, I said something along similar lines, Pete. Who knows? But yeah, hopefully it is a misinterpretation, and maybe it's something that hopefully by Sunday you might be feeling much better. But I suppose we'll just have to wait and see. I'm going to quickly go over a couple of the comments I've just gone through, Pete, because I'd love to hear your thoughts. But all I'm going to say is it's 1 hour 51. I think we're probably going to be pushing it for 2 hours. So let's go 2 hours 15. So we've got just under 25 minutes, and we're going to get through as many as we can. Now, I'm going to throw this one up. I've had my thoughts on this, and I've basically said I feel like this boat sailed, because I think the price tag we're talking about now is a little bit too much for me. But what are your thoughts on Patrick Schick?
Terrific striker. He would be, obviously, there are other preferences for me personally, but I wouldn't turn my nose up to him if he walked through the door. He would instantly be the best striker at the club. I think he's better than Callum Wilson, and I really rate Callum Wilson, but Patrick Schick is a better striker. The one thing I've said about Patrick Schick is that he's had so many bit part stays at various clubs in his career so far that he really needs to put down roots at a club. So whether he stays at his club that he's at the moment, and he stays there and stays for a number of years and really kind of fly in my face, and really builds his career that way, or he comes to somewhere like Newcastle and lays down roots for the next 5 or 6 years. That's what he needs now to really kind of get some continuity in his career, because he has jumped from club to club over his career so far. Terrific striker. I wouldn't get too downbeat about the price tag that was floated around in January. We all know that the price tags in January are inflated. I don't believe that we would need to necessarily pay that much to get him in the summer, in my opinion. I think if there was money out there is certainly a deal to be done, and the big reason is because his current club have got them the money to go out and buy a replacement, and they've got time to do that. In January, you just don't have that time. So I think that's why when he was linked with us and other clubs that he was banded about, I think it was like 55 million. I don't think we pay that to get him this summer, in my opinion. So I wouldn't be too heads up on that, but yeah, terrific striker. Terrific.
Yeah. I compared it similar to the Harry Kane situation. I wouldn't, if we signed Patrick Schick tomorrow, I'd probably be made up, but I wouldn't necessarily be going all out to get someone like Patrick Schick. I think the price I saw, Pete, was 70 million, but maybe that was 70 million euros, which would probably be about 55 million. It could have been that, but yeah, I wouldn't be paying anywhere near that personally, especially when you know, for a similar price, you can get someone like Darwin Núñez. I just wouldn't. Another one that I mentioned, and it's just really for information, really. David Cook said, "Hi guys, watched your loaded show from Takeover Day last night. Very emotional. Seeing how emotional you all were, and yeah, it was. I was saying how emotional it was. I was describing the day, and I said, funnily enough, Pete, and we were talking about this earlier on today on the chat, saying that it will be 6 months, a week on Thursday, and I think we're going to try and do a show next week, because that'd be nice to reminisce, wouldn't it?
Definitely, and what a big 6 months it's been. The pressure's been off to a certain extent about the club and about the direction of the club. We know the club's going one way, and it's been a bit of a ride, a bit of a roller coaster ride in a good way. But yeah, amazing times, amazing. I've not watched it back yet, purely because it was a very emotional show. Some of those emotional shows I tend to stay away from because they just meant so much to us. But yeah, I will watch it back at some point. And actually, not just the takeover day; it's the one before, the night before. I think I'm not sure if we had Ben Jacobs on that night. We had Ben Jacobs on the show the night before, and that one was a fantastic show. The beers and the brandy were flowing that night, and it was certainly flowing the night after of the 7th. That's for sure. But two fantastic shows. Brilliant.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it was. It's funny when you look back, isn't it? Because you know all that pressure, all that tension. You were probably like me, Pete. You know, constantly tuning into NUFC Matters, watching. You know the Three Amigos. Keith was on there, intent listening. I remember watching the arbitration. I was in work. I had the bloody arbitration on, watching it, and like I've never enjoyed something. It sounds weird. This I've never enjoyed something so boring in all my life. Like I was proper hooked on it, even though a lot of it was boring, and there was some great moments, and it just goes to show we all put our heart and soul into that, and you know we ended up getting what we deserved, which is absolutely fantastic. Just a quick shout out before you'll see that we mentioned on here about having 2 tickets for the ladies' game to give away, and the question was who scored the first goal versus Bradford yesterday for the ladies' team, and I didn't announce it, but massive well done to Tom Dixon with the correct answer of George Gibson. So well done, Tom. And I know John Justice Allen's been in touch with you, Tom, and said get in touch with him, and those tickets will be on the way to you, mate. So congratulations with that.
Brilliant.
So let's keep these questions flowing.
Yeah, too right.
Right, and some of them, some of them are really, really. You know, we started them straight away, and I was like, bloody hell, we're gonna have to talk about that. That's a really good one. Oh yeah, okay, Alan Thompson. No surprise, it's from Alan. Guys, how many players do you think will realistically leave the club? Thoughts, as players' wages play a part also, and many players just sit on their contracts today, i.e., Dwight Gale. So let's answer that, Pete, from a summer window perspective, because I think we all know in 2 or 3 years' time, 12, 13, 14, maybe more will go. But certainly this summer, how many do you see going out the window? Or out the door, should I say?
I think we'll probably get 5 or 6 gone. And I mean 5 or 6 squad players, like current players in this squad. So I'll go through them. So I think Dwight Gale will go, and Dwight Gale will either leave by signing for a club, or we pay him out of this contract. One of the 2 things will happen, and this will depend on what type of person Dwight Gale is. But I think regardless, Dwight Gale will go in the summer. I think he's comfortable right now, sitting on his contract, training every day, not playing. I think he's quite comfortable. Maybe because his family are happy in Newcastle. He's always talked about his family being settled up north, and that's fair enough. But we're moving on as a club now, and he should want to, at 31 years old, want to be playing football. So he'll be out the door regardless. Another player that's kind of sat on his money, Kieran Clark. I think he'll be another one that will go. We'll either pay him out of his contract or he'll leave. Be a little bit more, I think, with no, it won't be actually. It'll be a little bit more with Dwight Gale, not Kieran Clark. But I think both of them are one of the first 2 out the door in terms of permanently being sold or paid off. Federico Fernandez goes on a free transfer. So does Paul Dummett, free transfer, contract up. I think then we sell Matt Ritchie. Matt Ritchie will be sold. It wouldn't even surprise me if he goes back to Bournemouth. They'll get up in the Premier League, and he comes back into the Premier League with Bournemouth and plays for them potentially under their manager,
Under Scott Parker.
Scott Parker, yeah, that's right. I think he'll leave. I think then Miggy Almiron will go. I think he'll go to somewhere. He'll either go Portugal or Spain and play there. So that's 6. Then you've got question marks over 1 or 2 others. And the question mark is, they're the 6 that I think will definitely leave in the summer. You've got the 7th player, potentially Isaac Hayden, leaves the club, but being sold. He'll probably stay in the Premier League, go somewhere else in the Premier League, maybe even Brighton. I know they were really interested in before, or Crystal Palace, somewhere like that. Isaac Hayden leaves, but for a significant fee. Then you've got the 8th player, and his contract's also up in the summer, but it's whether we get the deal done or not, and that's Sean Longstaff. I don't know whether we keep him as part of the squad and build, or whether he walks away. But that could be up to 8 players. You could even go as far as 9 in terms of Fabian Schär, because his contract's up. He could walk away from, I think. But there's clear dialogue there to get that contract done. And from what we've heard from some journalists, he's keen to sign. So I'm not going to add him as a 9th, but there's potentially 8 players there. But I think there's a guarantee of maybe 6 that will leave the club in the summer. Is there anyone else additional to that you think could potentially leave? I've missed a couple, actually. Yeah. Shit.
I suppose you could add to that list Matty Longstaff on loan, Emil Kraft, Jamal Lewis potentially. I still don't think he should be sold, but there is a potential. You've got Jeff Hendrick, who will probably go permanently, I would imagine, probably to a top championship club or maybe QPR. That sounds really disrespectful, that doesn't it? Like a mid-table or a top-end championship club.
There's another one on there. I think
Jacob Murphy.
Put it on. I actually think Jacob Murphy's going to stay.
Yeah, if we got a good offer though, Pete. If someone come in with like 8-10 million, would you do a deal? I'd certainly be tempted. I've got to be honest. If it was good money.
Yeah. There's a chance. There's a potential, but at the same time, you've got to think. We need a squad. We need a squad, and in order to get those, in order to get those 25, we're going to have to then buy more players to replace that, and that's going to be the problem. Is that I think what they'll do, and I think you're right, because there's more. I forgot Hendrick. Jeff Hendrick's definitely going to leave the club, so that's 7. That's 7 there, definitely going to leave. Isaac Hayden, would he get another year potentially? I don't know. You've got someone's put in the chat. I forgot about Darlow.
Yeah, we haven't even talked on the keepers, have we? Yeah.
I think Gillespie will stay as a 3rd choice. We'll bring in the goalkeeper. Someone else has put in there. Fernandez. I did say Fernandez already. Darlow Dummett, I've already said. Darlow. My list is longer than Darren's. You're right. Woodman, Longstiff. Oh my God, Longstiff. And then Life Goals has put a number of the players up on here. It's
a fair one.
It could go higher potentially. It could be 12, 13 players that walk out the club. But are we going to let all of those players go? I think if Kraft can leave and we can get away with it. I think who was the other one? Hendrick will leave because he's already on loan. I think Woodman will leave because he'll want a fresh start, and rightly so. I think we failed. Newcastle have failed Freddie Woodman, and I think it would be the right thing to let him go for a relatively decent fee, with a potential of a percentage fee if he makes the big step up and then moves to a big club. I don't think we've not looked after him as well as we should have. Freddie Woodman right now should be challenging number 1. He should be number 1 goalkeeper for us, or certainly challenging it. We failed him as a young player coming into this club, but that was under another ownership. I think we've got all the players there that could potentially go, but it's how that transpires into actual player sales.
Yeah, I mean, the likes of Sean Longstaff, Isaac Hayden, and Jacob Murphy could be lucky in that they avoid the chop this season, because, like you say, you can't get rid of 13 players and then expect to bring in 13 new players, because it just won't happen. So it could be that they go, right, let's give them another 6 months of a year, see what happens, and then look to move them on. That could be what happens, especially the contract size as well. If we've got players who, if there's a player on 3 years and a player on 1 year, they'd probably go, right. get rid of the 1 year value from the player who's got 3 years because he'll still have 2 years left, if that makes sense. Right, so there's a few of these, Pete, where they're just quick ones. So just go with your gut. Dan Smirnoff says in TalkSport they were saying Bale should go to Newcastle. Not on my list, to be honest. What are your thoughts on that?
I've already talked about that before. Gareth Bale, an outstanding, supreme talent in his prime. I don't think he's motivated outside of playing for Wales, if I'm honest.
No,
I don't think Gareth Bale right now is a motivated footballer playing outside of Wales. He went back to the club that made him in Tottenham and barely looked like he wanted to be there at all. He didn't look interested whatsoever. And I think Mourinho found that quite early on, that he wasn't keen, that he wasn't motivated as a player. He's only motivated to play for Wales. It wouldn't even surprise me within the next year that Gareth Bale retires. He's won everything. He's won everything he needed to at club football. He was never going to win anything at international football, but he's won everything he could possibly win in his career at 32, 33 years old. There is nothing more Gareth Bale needs to prove. He doesn't need to prove anything. He was a supreme talent. Do we go and sign him? He's on 500k at the moment at Real Madrid. They would want him off the wage bill. Would we go and pay even half of that, 250? I wouldn't personally. I wouldn't pay that money for him. I think £250,000 a week could go on 2 or 3 quality players that are up and coming that could really improve our first team, let alone our squad. For £250,000 a week, we could buy 2 or 3 quality players and use those 250 grand a week for that. In my opinion, but Gareth Bale, top talent, not for me, not for Newcastle.
No, I agree, mate. I agree. We've spoke about this player before, but it was a while ago. Just going back to Botman, if he decides to go to Milan, how about Nico Schlotterbeck from? Is he Freiburg?
I think so. He plays in Germany.
Freiburg? I think it's Freiburg. Yeah, he plays in Germany anyway. Yeah,
he
but
started for Germany at the weekend, or the back end of last week. It started as a left-sided centre back, so he's starting for Germany as well, which will add a little bit to his price. But yeah, top talent. Like he would be the next. He'd be the next guy in line. We want another left-sided centre back. There's been links with Lloyd Kelly. Lloyd Kelly, I think, will come up and play with Bournemouth. I don't think we'll sign him. I don't think Bournemouth will allow him to go unless we pay stupid money, in which case we go out and go into the European market and buy Botman or Schlotterbeck. But yeah, great option. Great alternative.
It's a good shout. Interesting one from our main man, 00 Stato, Keith. Evening, lads. If Everton get relegated this season or stay up and have a mass clear out at the end of the season, is there any of their players that you would take? So, ironically, Luca Dean would have been one of them way back when we never had Matty Target, and obviously when he was at Everton. So he definitely would have been one for me. I'm struggling. Oh, there's one player who I would be very interested in, and I was pleased to see we were linked with him the other day. Don't know your thoughts on him, Pete. In fact, I do kind of know your thoughts on him, but I don't know how you're feeling about him. It would be Ben Godfrey. Yeah. Ben Godfrey, right centre back. I feel really sorry for Ben Godfrey, and I've been singing this tune for a while now, saying that since he's been at Everton, he's been slotted in at right back, he's been slotted in at left back, and I think just let the lad play centre back and give him consistent game time in a organised, settled back four. And I think under Eddie Howe, if he was given that opportunity, I think he'd be a decent player.
He's an Eddie Howe player. Ben Godfrey is a terrific talent. Loved him at Norwich. Wanted us to sign him. Gutted that he went to Everton. Everton had the money and was splashing it around at that point. We obviously had awful owners at that particular time that we didn't have the money to buy him. I think Eddie Howe would love him, but I only think he would be a Lascelles replacement. If we had bidders for Lascelles, I think we would look to then move him on at that point. I think if Ben Godfrey became available, I think Newcastle sign him with a view to moving Lascelles on in the summer.
Yeah, he's a natural replacement.
Yeah.
He would be perfect. If you had a right centre back pair, well, two right centre backs in the team of Ben Godfrey and Fabian Schär, you're not doing far wrong.
Ben Godfrey's their best centre back, other
Yeah.
than Yeremina, but Yeremina's very rarely fit. He's had an awful injury history. So for me, Ben Godfrey's their best centre back, but they're playing right, left back, as you said. He played left back against us. Like, he must be thinking, what the hell's going on here? But he's a terrific player. He just needs to be coached. He's got the worst manager possible in Frank Lampard because he's not a coach. He doesn't know how to coach players, certainly not centre backs. So yeah, but the only other one for me, in fact, there's two. There's two more for me that I would consider. Decore as a midfielder. I don't think he'd start for us though. I think he'd I think he'd be a squad player, but he's one that I would consider, not guarantee.
He's like an upgrade on Modi Army, isn't he? He's probably not good enough to be in the starter, but he's probably of the Modi Army ilk, and he's better than Modi Army.
Yeah, for that reason. And the other one that I would consider is Damari Gray.
Oh yeah, forgot about him. Okay, yeah,
a top player. I think he could do. He can play on the left. He probably plays on the left, but can play on the right. A good alternative. Gives something different to St. Maxi and Ryan Fraser.
Yeah.
Ultimately, we would like to improve better in the wing areas than maybe Damari Gray. But I think he again he's a terrific player. There's if you're looking at anybody else, it's maybe Richarlison. I personally wouldn't. I think we'd be looking for better in the summer. And his attitude stinks. I don't like his attitude, to be honest.
Yeah, well, that's what he was in the back of my mind, and then I thought, is he the kind of player we want to bring in? I know obviously you'd have the link with Bruno, wouldn't he? But I'm not too sure.
We moan about ASM. He's worse. Richarlison's worse. His attitude's worse.
Yeah. And as we said, he's just as we sang at Goodison, Pete, he's just a shit Joe Linton.
Yeah.
So
True.
Right. Gary Milliken says, as Mr. Gallant said earlier, so he's referring to Paul Gallant. 9 games left. How many points?
Ooh.
It's a tough one, really, isn't it? It is a tough one. I mean, I suppose what you could say, Pete, which might be easier to answer off the top of your head. How many points do you believe we'll get to this season? Not bearing in mind who we'll get them against, but what can you see us finishing on? Bearing in mind, I think we're on 31. Am I right in saying that? Yeah. Where could you realistically see us finishing?
I think by the end of the season, we're on 40 plus points.
Yeah.
I think we end the season above 40 points, in my opinion. A good end to the season, with wins against Wolves, Palace, Norwich,
Burnley.
Wolves, Palace, Norwich, Burnley. That puts us what was that? 43.
43, yeah. And there'll be the odd draw in there, I'm sure.
Yeah. So if we won those 4 games, that puts us on 43 points. There's a potential to win against Leicester, get something against Spurs, and get something against maybe Arsenal at St James's Park. It could be more. We could finish. We could finish higher than Bruce and Rafa's season potentially.
Yeah, potentially.
But I think we'll finish. We'll finish in the 40-point mark. I think we'll get at least 9 points.
Yeah, I'm in agreement. I think we'll hit 40. No bother. Lee G asks, and I know what Pete's answer to this will be. Would you boys take Eze from Crystal Palace? I'm saying I know your answer. I think any concerns around that injury, Pete?
No, I would prefer Elise.
Yeah.
If you're asking me for any of the wingers at Palace, I think Zaha is just his age. He's 29 years old. Good player. I think he'd do well, but he plays on the left, just like St. Maximin. He doesn't like playing on the right. I just don't think it would work in terms of the balance. But Elise plays on the right-hand side, can cut in on his left. Young player, terrific talent. I think France are looking at him, as well as 1 or 2 other countries that I think he can qualify for. And he's getting better and better. For me, for me, he's already ahead of Eze. Elise is already ahead of Eze
Yeah.
in terms of his levels. I think he's a terrific talent. He's a guy that I would go out and pay 25, 30 million for now because he will get better. And I think he's the type of character and the player that would thrive under playing at Newcastle United. So I would sidestep Eze and go for Elise.
Good, mate. Yeah, good. Well, we've hit 2 hours 15, but Pete, we've still got some fantastic questions. And I know I said I wasn't going to do this, but let's go to 2 hours 30 and then we'll stop. We are not hitting 3 hours tonight, Pete. We can't do it.
No, definitely.
So, yeah, Alan Thompson, Pete and Chris, the Wolves. Going back on goalkeepers again here, Pete. We could go to 4 hours if we start talking goalies again. But Pete and Chris, the Wolves keeper has a tremendous season. Whose defence has been one of the best this season. So I think he's referring to Jose Sarr, who replaced Rui Patricio. Yeah. So yeah, it's a great shout. And I tell you what, he's a man mountain as well, isn't he? I think he's 6'6". So not a bad shout. Not a bad shout.
Very good goalkeeper, but Wolves on the verge of playing European football next year.
Could be hard to tempt him, couldn't it? Yeah, it could be hard.
We're not tempting a player like that out of Wolves. I don't see it happening. Personally.
Yeah, no, I think that's a fair one. Okay, so Lee Evington says, lads, another aspect to consider is where is the money in European football? I'm not saying we're going to spray money around, but where else is money going to come from?
PSG will spend this summer.
Well, if Mbappe's off, which by the sounds of it he is, they're going to have to, aren't they?
And I've been speaking to a brother about PSG for a while because, as I say, he's been a PSG fan for 30 plus years. Season ticket holder. He's obviously a journalist. There was a small period around January, early Feb time where there was talks that Mbappe was going to sign an extension.
Yeah, I remember you saying.
And then I'm not sure if I mentioned it to you, but as soon as they got knocked out by Real Madrid, it was off the table. And he's 98% gone to Real Madrid. Like his mind's already gone. Now he was the one player that was keeping them ticking over, even with Messi and Neymar in the team. Those two were underperforming. Messi's been shocking, absolutely shocking, embarrassing at times this season in Liga, as well as the Champions League. He's been awful. But he wants to stay another season potentially. Neymar wants to leave, but no one will be able to afford him. And that's why the links with Newcastle came out, because we're the only ones that probably could afford him, but we're not going to pay that sort of money for him. So therefore, he'll probably end up staying at PSG. But Angel Di Maria, he's 34 years old, needs to move on. Ander Herrera, they want rid of. Idrissa Gueye, they want rid of. There is a number of others. Julian Draxler, who feels like he's been there for an eternity.
Yeah, he feels like he's been playing football for about 40 years.
Yeah, and only played like 3 games in the last 6 years, and he's a terrific talent. I remember when the takeover first happened, and I thought, you know what, Julian Draxler in January, bang, perfect signing. But yeah, he just seems to be happy sitting on his money. But they are going to move a number of players out. There'll be a shift in a number of players that they will move out the team in order to rebuild again and to start that rebuilding process. So what are they going to need to do in order to rebuild? Spend some money. So yeah, that they'll be the alternatives, the guys that will have the money to spend. Man City will probably spend again. They'll spend the Haaland money, and they'll probably improve in 1 or 2 other areas. As another right-sided centre-back, don't rule out John Stones. John Stones does not look happy at the moment. You know about me and John Stones.
I know about you and John Stones. I'm smiling because I hope Jeff's watching at home.
Yeah, he's not in the chat tonight, but I hope he's watching because he's not happy at the moment. And he's 28 years old and barely kicking a ball for Man City or England at the moment. Not good enough for a player of his quality. He needs to have a team built around him. He'd be another fantastic signing. You know what? I think Pep Guardiola, if we came in with a decent bid, I think Pep Guardiola would say, you know what, go and play football somewhere else and look to replace him. I think Man City will spend a little bit of money. Man United have to spend money. They have to.
Gonna have to, yeah.
Their team is not good enough, you know, and they've got players like they've got Martial that's gone to Seville, and Seville after 2 months have already decided, I think, that they don't want to take him permanently, and that they're already looking at moving him back at the end of the season when there was a deal pretty much in place to take him permanently. So they've got a player there that they're going to want to get rid of. Marcus Rashford.
Haven't they just given Bruno Fernandes a new 5-year deal?
Not signed it yet, but they're discussing a new deal with him. They've got to replace Paul Pogba. Juan Mata's contract's out. Lingard contract's out. They are renowned to having a big squad. I think Nemanja Matic, I think his contract's out in the summer as well. I said Marcus Rashford's got a year left on his contract. They do not want to make the same mistake with Marcus Rashford that they did with Jesse Lingard, in allowing him to go into his last year without him signing a new deal. Because if he doesn't start, or he doesn't play well, or some things doesn't go right, what's then going to happen is then he'll end up moving elsewhere on a free. And you do not want Marcus Rashford at 24 years old leaving at 25 years old with at least 7 or 8 years left in his career
on a
free transfer. Because you know who's going to lap that up? We'll lap it up. We'll take a player like that. That's for sure. So there's a lot of money that's going to be around for certain clubs in the summer. Chelsea are going to want to improve. Liverpool have got no money, but there's a question marks over Salah. If Salah doesn't sign his new contract, does anyone know when this contract's out? For some reason, I'm thinking it's this summer. But
no, I think it's next summer.
Then some people are saying it's next summer.
Yeah, it's not this summer because they wouldn't have let it run down that low. I think it's next summer, and they're trying to do it now so that they're not in like a Jesse Lingard situation where Salah goes, you know what, I'll just stay another year and then I'll get a mega bucks move to Madrid, Barca, PSG, and I'll go on a free. They don't want that.
Don't be surprised if Mohamed Salah gets moved on in the summer. Don't be surprised if it happens.
No.
And one of the clubs that I've just told you about needs to revamp their team in PSG, and will have money to spend, and will go, okay, got 1 year left on his contract. He doesn't want to sign a new deal. Let's do a deal with you, Liverpool, and let's pay 100 million for him. Give you 100 million for him. You're going to get nothing for him at the end of next season. Let's give you 100 million. Okay, 110 million. And all they'll be doing is using money that they would have spent on Mbappe to get that deal done.
Yeah.
And pay the wages that Mbappe were on. It's a straight swap. Mohamed Salah for Mbappe. That's what I think they'll look to do, personally. So yeah, that could be a deal to keep an eye on too. Because they've already effectively signed his replacement in Diaz. They've got Diaz, Jota, Mane. Obviously Firmino still in there. Divock Origi's not a bad shout either.
Yeah.
He'll be kicking about because his contract's out in the summer.
Yeah, interesting. We've got Geordie Toon for life. You have to remember we need a squad of players. Some will be happy to play the odd games, but you can't replace everyone in 1 or 2 windows. And do you know what? Geordie Toon for life, as always, mate. Really, really good point. Interesting one from NUFC Luke 98. If Almiron leaves, we should target Lingard. Do you think the Lingard boat has sailed? I'm not so sure that we'd be going for him now.
I don't think that we will get Jesse Lingard. I think Lingard was already primed to move to West Ham in the summer. And obviously we were linked with him and we were the only ones that could get him. One, because Man United were not willing to do a deal with West Ham because they're both fighting for top 4. And 2, West Ham are more than likely going to be playing European football next season, which is perfect for Lingard to move from Man United to West Ham and still play European football at 28, 29 years old is a perfect transition for him. We're selling a project, which is fantastic, but a project takes time. Jesse Lingard's going to want the here and now. So therefore, I think he'll probably go to West Ham. He's really good friends and still keeps in touch, as far as I'm aware, with Declan Rice and one or two other players in the squad. So he's already got a rapport and a relationship with a number of players there, including the manager, who managed him at Man United as well. So I think for me, that's not even a deal that I'm looking at. It was either now or never. It was either January or not at all. For me, I don't think we're going to. I think we'll offer him something. I think we'll offer him a big contract, but I think he'll turn that down to go to West Ham. Personally, what about you? What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I don't think we'll sign him. I don't think we'll sign him. I think he's probably already got one eye on West Ham, like you say, and also I feel like that ship sailed for me. Like I think there'll be other targets. I'm not saying he's not on the list, but I think he'll be after the big signing on fee, big wages, and I think even with his age, I think they'll just be looking and thinking, no, do you know what? There's probably players with better numbers out there. That would be my opinion. So no, I don't think we'll go for Jesse Lingard personally. Right, Pete. Again, I'm conscious of time, so I'm going to ask you for quick fire answers to these questions because I want to try and get them in. So, Paul Gallant. Hi, Chris. Pete. Where is the European places? Just asking. Now, correct me if I'm wrong, Pete, but I think it's top 4 for the Champions League, and then 5th and 6th for Europa League. Am I right in saying that? Yeah.
5th and 6th for Europa League, and then I think it's 7th for Europa Conference.
Europa Conference, right? Yeah. Okay.
So it's Europa Conference, but I'm not sure if we still get, potentially, depending on how the cups fall. So if the top teams end up winning both the cups, so Liverpool won the
it affects the placings, doesn't it?
I think it opens up an additional place because obviously if you win the FA Cup, you get a European spot. So I think it opens up another place. I'm not sure if it then, and I don't know this for sure, whether it then allows 3 European teams, 3 Europa League teams, and then the Europa Conference goes down to place 8th.
Yeah, so, it might be that.
So it could be so it could be top 8 that gets you Europe potentially.
Yeah. I always remember that one year, Everton fans were fuming. Not that they didn't have any other reasons to hate Liverpool even more, but I remember that year when Everton finished, I think it was 4th or something, but the rules were different. And it was like, oh yeah, Liverpool won the Champions League, so they get the extra spot. It was something like that, and Everton didn't qualify for the Champions League because Liverpool won the Champions League. It was just one of those, but I know the rules keep changing. But another one, Pete, interesting. Quick view on this. Would you guys sell Wilson if we could get 20 million back this summer? No. I agree. I don't. I still feel like he's got more to give. So no, I agree with that. But great question. This is a really good one. Dad says swap Saint Maximin with Paqueta at Lyon. That's a tasty one, isn't it?
I saw that earlier, and thought, look, I think we'd be mad not to look at Lucas Paqueta in the summer, because if we don't look at him in the summer, another team is going to tap him up, and he will tear it wherever he goes. They obviously signed him from AC Milan. I was shocked that AC Milan sold him in the first place because he played well for them there. But obviously he's playing at Lyon, doing really, really well. I wouldn't swap him for Alan Saint-Maximin purely because I believe that we can have them playing together.
Yeah. Personally. Yeah, no, that's a good one. That's a good point. This name I've not heard before, so you may know more about it. Mad Mag Mark. I can't go out the show without saying Mad Mag Mark. Would you guys go after a young right back, Jed Spence from Forest, in the summer to work as an understudy to Trippier?
Brilliant player. Brilliant young player. The only problem we've got is that he's actually on loan from Forest from, I think, Middlesbrough. I think he's from Middlesbrough. Oh. So he's actually on loan from Middlesbrough at Forest. And I think they're around the same part of the table. They're like literally fighting each other out for promotion. But I don't think that Middlesbrough saw the trajectory in Spence's career this season than what he's had. And I think the FA Cup has really shone a light on him because he's been outstanding, particularly in the FA Cup games, but he's had a good season for Forest. And I don't think we'll be the only Premier League team that will look at him. I'd be shocked if the likes of Palace, Brighton, one or two other teams like that are not taking a look at Jed Spence. However, if Middlesbrough get promoted, they keep him, and I think he goes into their first team. And Jed Spence and Brendan Johnson on that right hand side have been tearing things up.
Yeah.
They're playing there together, pace, defensive ability, trickery. They both got it in their respective positions. Very, very good player. Good young player as well. I'd love to see him sign him, but yeah, I think we go with Mankiller and Trippier personally in the summer. I think that's what we're going to do.
Yeah, I believe so too, Pete. I agree. Couple more. We Are United. Are you guys going to the Leicester game? If so, where will you be drinking pre-match? Now, I'm not going to the Leicester game. We Are United. Don't know if Pete is. Normally, pre-drinking. I'll have to let you know next time we're going. But normally, oh, saying that, no, hang on. We've got Leicester at home, haven't we?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. We went to King Power, didn't we? I don't know where that comes from. Yeah. Normally I go to Dog and Parrot. Obviously to say hello to Steve and Malcolm McDonald's, but otherwise I've had a pint in Rosie's, which is right by the grounds. That's pretty good. And obviously you've got the Irish Centre. But Pete, where do you normally go pre-match?
Well, the last time I went to Dog and Parrot before we went to St James's, so up there, try and get in the store with strawberry British.
Oh, it's so hard though, isn't it?
It's a nightmare, and even after the game, it's even worse. And then obviously the new renamed Shearers. We tend to
definitely go there next time.
Yeah, we try and get in there for a few. But yeah, I'll be up for the Leicester game. Taking the family up. We're having a few days up in Newcastle.
Oh yeah, you're going with your daughter, aren't you? Yeah, I remember you saying. Oh bloody hell, yeah.
My daughter's first game at St James. Her
Oh
first
God,
game ever. And it'll be her first experience at St James's Park.
Wow.
So I'm absolutely buzzing. She plays for the school team here. She's starting to really get into football. So to see that experience, like that'll be it. Like yeah, I think she'll be sold. But yeah, really looking forward to it. So we're having a few days up in Newcastle, staying with my friend's family. So we'll be in and around the city, and then it's Easter Sunday now, so we'll be there for the game. Not that I'll be doing too much drinking because I'll have the little one there, but we'll pop around a few bars, and one or two others, and see what's going on. So yeah, looking forward to it. Should be good.
Good man. Life goals. So yeah, I love this one. Life goals. Is there any chance we could pay a small amount to have some Pete and Chris car stickers made up, your faces and fans forum written beneath? Life goals. John, if you're watching, this is the demands. This is what people are after. Supply and demand, as they say. So
you do.
Yeah. Hey Pete, that'd be good, wouldn't it? You could have my face on your car, and I'd have your face on my car. It'd be a bit weird if you had your own face on your car. Certainly yours. Yeah. I could put yours, and you could put mine. There's one last one I want to go to, and I starred it because we've run out of time. This was it. I thought Pete will love this from Trulls. Absolutely loved it. As soon as I seen this come up, I started it immediately because I thought Pete will just go weak at the knees when he reads this. So Trulls says, Botman, Diego Carlos, Paqueta, Nunez, and Osimhen. See, I knew it. That I mean, funnily enough, though, out of those Trulls, and I shared a concern about Diego Carlos at the time, as in we were overpaying, and I think Pete was quite right, when he was saying it's the January price, and I don't think it'd be anywhere near that price now, and Sevilla probably wouldn't do business with us now because there was 40 million in the offing, and then if we come in and go 20 million, they probably feel, again, to use that expression, they probably feel like that's boat sales. They probably don't want it, or ship sales. They probably don't want to go down that route now. They'll probably just keep hold of him. But certainly Botman, Paqueta, Nunez, and Osimhen. I mean, imagine getting Nunez and Osimhen. Oof. That Wood would definitely go. Would definitely go if them two come in. Definitely.
Yeah. And if those two came in, it wouldn't surprise me if Wilson moved on to get those two in. You're being your third choice then. You're lucky to even get a game.
Yeah.
Those two young players in your team. Yeah, Osimhen can play off the left. He's done it on the odd occasion, but they're both frontline strikers. You're not getting in if you're Callum Wilson if you sign both of them. But for me, I don't think we go for Diego Carlos. It was either now or never in January. And I think he knew that, which is why he put a transfer request in, which is why he tried to force the move, because I think he knew this was the move that had to happen in January, otherwise he wasn't going to get it. Because I think he knew that the money that was being on offer was too good to turn down. I think the money on offer, he knew that Seville really couldn't turn it down because they weren't going to get that much from again. And yeah, it didn't work out for whatever reason. But yeah, I think Botman, Paqueta, and either one of Nunez and Osimhen would be a fantastic deal. With maybe a another player added into that. Who that could be a free transfer somewhere potentially. But that would be spot on.
Yeah,
really good deal.
Do you know what? I was going to end it on that, Pete, but I've just noticed you've starred another one, and I want to wear this. So you've starred it. I want to wear it. Life Goals asked Pete, "What's the most alcohol you've ever consumed, and what were the consequences?" I'm just gonna get comfy for this one.
Oh my God. Now, I have to say, there's been a number of times there's been a significant amount of alcohol consumed. I've done all days. I've done 15, 20-hour sessions, like mad ones. Probably in my younger days, in my early 20s, in terms of beers, 15, 20 pints sessions, like mad ones, like over long periods of time. I can't think of one in particular. We've done a lot of lads' weekends, lads' holidays. There's been some good times. Lots and lots of alcohol consumed. That was when I used to drink beer and various other drinks. I'm very much just all about the brandy now.
Yeah. No. When you have your spirits, the hangover's not as bad, is it? I've realised that now myself.
I went for a long period of gin is actually the best one to drink because gin is got less calories in, providing that you mix it with tonic and not like lemonades and drinks like that. It's good for calories related, and I find that I don't have as bad a hangovers with drinking gin, and certainly with spirits. Beers dehydrate you even more and they bloat you up, so you end up going toilet a lot more. They end up bloating you up a lot quicker because you're consuming more liquids. That's why I just put the beer to the side and just have the odd spirit now and again when I'm on with you boys.
Now and again. I love it, Pete. I love it.
Now and again with you boys.
Yeah, no, exactly. I'll tell you what, not only do you get Newcastle information and Newcastle, guidance, you also get alcohol guidance now. I mean, what does this show not do?
Exactly. Spot on.
Right, Pete, we're going to have to end it. I know we've gone a bit over tonight, but we were having a really good time. We really enjoyed ourselves. But listen, as always, everyone, thank you so much for watching. I know I keep saying this is probably boring you, but we wouldn't do this show, if we didn't have you guys in the chat, because we love hearing, all your questions. I'm really sorry, by the way, if we didn't get to your question tonight. We've tried our best to whiz through them. So if we didn't get to your comment, please shout at us next week, and we will make sure that your comment or your question gets up, and we'll make sure that we answer it as best we can. But as always, massive thank you, Pete, for joining me tonight. Not the same without you, mate. And onwards and upwards. Oh, in fact, just before you go, let's have a score prediction for Tottenham. I know it feels weird saying that because Tottenham's like 6 days away, but yeah, we're literally not gonna chat before then, are we? We're on here anyway, so.
My heart says 2-1 Newcastle. My head says 1-1. We take a point.
Yeah, Yeah, it's weird that actually.
weird.
Yeah, I agree with that. I do feel like I have a gut feeling we can get something, especially because like we've had a good chip away by the sounds of it, and the new confidence, renewed organisation. Players have had a good rest to a degree. Obviously, I know they've been training hard, but no match days kind of thing. So, yeah, do you know what? I'm gonna go with me head, and I'm gonna say 1-1. I think 1-1's a good shout, and a point again, as we always say, a point away from home. It's another point on the board,
Yeah.
and I'd more than happily take that. But yeah, listen, everyone, thank you again for watching, and we look forward to seeing you next week. Bye
Okay.
bye.